With war rolling at the start, we here to bring the truth. Jar open this podcast, we breaking through the fake news. They try to silence us, but we will be subdued. We're bearded alpha males here to save the youth. Spitting fire on the mic with our bass Christian takes. Exposing the lies, keeping the demons at bay. We ain't afraid to speak up, we won't be swayed. Jar open this podcast, where the truth is laid. Jar openers, cracking open the lies. We're rolling atlas up, we're here to rise. Bearded alpha males saving the youth from the godless demons, spreading the truth. We ain't playing games, we're on a mission to awaken the masses with our intuition. Pulling out the corruption with no inhibition. Draw open this podcast, sparking a revolution. We're not afraid to stand tall in a world full of deceit. We're the voice of reason, bringing light to the street. Keeping it real, never missing a beat. Jar open this podcast, where the truth meets the heat. Jar openers, cracking open the lies. We're rolling atlas up, we're here to rise. Bearded alpha males saving the youth from the godless demons, spreading the truth. Jar open this podcast, where the truth will never cease. Join us on the journey to bring back peace. We're rolling atlas thugs, fearless in our release. Jar open this podcast, where the lies will decrease.
All right.
Welcome in.
Oh, I'm crooked.
Howdy, howdy.
How's it going, everybody? TNT cracking me up already before the show even started. Appreciate you for being here. Just noticed he had an eyebrow above his lip. That's weird.
Yeah, right. He reminds me of the cafeteria lady I had in high school.
Lunch lady in land.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we just had a bit of breaking news hit here 13 minutes ago. We'll let people kind of filter in for the next couple minutes. You know what? Let me close this door. I got to close the door here. I forgot.
This guy. It's always something, guys, in the first 60 seconds.
Dude, I'm never ready for anything. My mom, my wife, they know if you want me to be somewhere, you got to tell me that I'm supposed to be there like a half hour earlier than what you really want me, because then when I'm fashionably late like usual, I'll actually be right on time.
Chat, do we still need proof of wife?
No. You guys don't need that.
Right. Yeah, breaking news, obviously, with Harvard. Something they're preparing for. A bunch of breaking news today, a lot of conflicting things as well. What's funny too is like we actually had a conversation before the show earlier today, and just talking about how a lot of the stuff that we're seeing is like clearly there's an intent to obviously divide people among lines, right? I mean, it's the tried and true method of the way the government can continue to achieve so much, which is just consuming all that is good and giving back all that is evil. And we're seeing more of that as it relates to like the Karmelo Anthony case too. But I think the thing that I was most impressed by today, which I hope we get time to get into, was the RFK press, the press they had about presser, I think is the right word, about autism.
Yeah.
And that was, I mean, some of the figures that they were dropping in that was insane. The one in particular that I know I can think of off the top of my head is that California had like a 480% increase in autistic children in like the last like 10, 15 years. Might even be like longer than that, maybe like 2025. But it's like, I think like the rate or something like that, they're saying now is like 1 in 12.5 kids has autism coming out of California, which is, I mean, like that is aggressively high compared to like the rest of the country. And like they were obviously, and so they go into a bit more detail. So I don't want to say anything that's too YouTube unfriendly until we actually just play it and say, hey, this is what our government officials said. But that press conference was wild. I wasn't seeing too many people talk about it, but I did get a whole like 9-minute segment we can go through.
Okay.
But some of the figures that they drop in there are just like, I mean, it's like mind numbing. I mean, it'll piss you off.
Okay, well, let's I want to start with this breaking news, but then we'll just go right to that one. I don't want to gloss over that at all. I'm curious what all was said. I see that TNT mentioned that he missed that presser, so I'm guessing most of us did. So yeah, we'll get to that. I just want to briefly touch on this breaking news. It's piggybacking off of kind of what a story that already started off the day, or yesterday, actually, I believe is when it really started off, that Trump is removing Harvard's federal funding, something like 2 point whatever much billion dollars.
Yep.
2 point much 2 point many
$2
billion
many.
dollars
Yeah.
given to Florida. No, not Florida, given to Harvard. I don't know why I said Florida. But YouTube deleted your comment there, just me. Yeah, sometimes it'll do that. It's not our settings. We have it set up to where there is no censorship besides links. You guys can't post links. But yeah, make sure.
I don't want to see your OnlyFans.
Yeah, but while you guys are typing away, don't forget to hit the like button. Always share this live with all your friends, even your enemies. Send it to your group chat. You know, we need your guys' help. With your help, we can grow the show, which it's been growing nicely, and I appreciate everybody that's been showing up and helping us along the way. You guys are near and dear to my heart. No, but seriously, I'm super appreciative, and I'm happy to see you there. Alt Companion, Just Me, TNT, Jamie, Steve. What's up, everybody? I'm sure there's some folks in there that I'm maybe missing.
Right.
So maybe YouTube blocked their comments too, but like I said,
Right.
Double check, make sure you're subscribed, all that good stuff. Hey, what's up, LOL Marble? Lola Marble.
Yeah,
Low
we're
Lamb.
still undecided on how you say that.
Low Lamb Arble.
Oh, I see Jamie's comment in there. Yeah, no, I was just giving you shit about not being here. Kind of like that other furry guy who's always in our Discord talking all that S, but never shows up.
Only shows up once every 10 shows.
Right.
Never can stay till the end.
Yeah.
But it's it's hump day, so hope everybody's week's been going by fast, and just got 2 days to wrap it up. I got to remember tomorrow's trash day. I always end up forgetting, and I'll hear they come by super early, and I'll hear them come by, and it'll wake me up, and I got to run out there, and I live on a cul-de-sac or whatever, and so they got to come back by the house to leave the neighborhood, and so I'll run out there and I'll take it to the other side of the street. So when they come back by to get the houses on the other side, they still get my trash. I have to do that all the time.
Yeah, we had a when I was in college, they had a trash service that sounded like what's the word? It sounded like a bomb was hitting New York every time because it's right outside our window. So like during college, I was up at 6:30 in the morning every day because it was so exceptionally loud.
Is it like
And
the
they
dump
would-
trucks and their tailgates banging?
Yeah, because where my dorm was at behind where I lived was where the dumpsters congregated. So there was like 5 or 6 dumpsters all in one spot. So most people just hear it once and they're like, man, that was loud. For me, it was like 20 straight minutes of them picking up one dumpster at a time. And it was so loud. I can remember to this day. I couldn't stand it.
Oh, yeah, I bet that was pretty miserable.
Right. And one thing too I wanted to mention, because I saw that comment from Steve about Maine. I almost tried looking into, because I saw a little clip about Maine's female sports, but I saw another one that got my attention more, which is in Massachusetts, funny enough, like close over there on the East Coast, which we're going to get into too, about parents were charged for kidnapping their own children because they refused to give their 9-month-old a vaccine. It's actually an older story, but catching more wind because the mayor has all these weird comments on Facebook. But basically, that's the story. They cited religious grounds, wanted to file the exemption. Their pediatrician basically said, if you don't get the vaccine, I'm going to file a neglect report against you. And then the Department of Children and Family came and tried to take their kids the next day. It's a wild story.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I think I saw a little bit of that. There's some like Ring doorbell footage of it, right?
Pretty sure, yeah. Because
If it's not the same story, there's another story where like Child Protective Services showed up, some lady with a clipboard and file, with cops standing there off to the side, and dude's like, "No, you just sent me the email 2 minutes ago, and you're not coming in this house. What you're doing is illegal. Get off my property." It was funny. The cop off to the side was standing on like a paver, trying not to step in like the dirt, because I think it was actually wood chips. And then some second cop just comes and walks right through it. It's just like no
That's
no
funny.
regard for the person's property that you're staying on. I don't know.
No.
I just thought it was a funny thing to know off to the side.
Well,
Things
yeah,
I pay attention to.
Well, they refused the house visit because they did get like the notice almost like the same day, and they were unsure like what they were supposed to be doing. And then apparently later, Fitchburg police came and surrounded the apartment. So then they were like, "We can't stay here." They fled to Texas after that, and then they were found, I think, like 9 or 10 days later because they had a credit card charge trying to buy formula, and they got tracked down from that.
Crazy.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think we actually have that. Yeah, we have that in the outline. So we'll take a look at it and I'll see if it's actually the same story. Appreciate that, Haley Clark, favorite podcast. Good to see you, by the way. Good to see you. Tix Bomber House is in the house. We got House AI here to set us straight when we're wrong. Our resident artificial intelligence fact checker and encyclopedia.
Oh, is House actually in here? I missed it.
/ dictionary and thesaurus. Who else I missed? What's up, JB? I think I saw JB. Yeah. Evil Elmo. Oh, I got. Is that a new profile picture? Yeah, I think it is.
What was the older profile picture of? Was that actually Elmo?
No, he had pink hair. I think it was somebody. It was him with pink hair, maybe, or a picture of somebody with pink hair.
I don't know if it was like a celebrity or somebody I was supposed to know or not.
Yeah, I'm not sure, to be honest. I always just assumed it was him.
That's funny.
Yep. So, anyways, let's check out this first one. I got it pulled up here. This is just breaking 13 minutes ago. Well, probably a few minutes ago. Before that, maybe 15 minutes ago, right? But President Trump and the DOJ have officially asked the IRS to revoke Harvard University's tax-exempt status. So not only has Donald Trump gone after Harvard and removed their federal funding, which was something like $2 billion, like I was saying, now they're taking away or trying to revoke Harvard's tax-exempt status, which, that's another blow. And I actually caught a little bit of Dinesh D'Souza talking about this earlier, and he had a pretty good take, which, it sucks. I was literally just listening to it. I didn't think to timestamp it. I should have actually done that, but
right.
He had a pretty good take talking about, what Harvard's been doing, how much tuition is, how much money goes into their federal funding goes into their grant programs, and the professors and students all getting grant money, and just kind of sounds like a rich get richer type of racket. Because I know a lot of grants you don't have to pay back or anything; it's just money you get for being in the program type of scenario. So I don't know. Never had a grant, but from what I understand, I know that's how kind of they're built when it comes to these types of situations. But let's hear what Brett Baer has to say about this real quick, and then we'll move on to the next story. Oh wow, that's quiet. Okay, good.
There we go.
I can turn it up. I was like, no, don't tell me there's no audio.
It's funny.
The Trump Justice Department
still kind of quiet, but
the administration has asked the Internal Revenue Service to revoke Harvard University's tax-exempt status. This comes after President Trump suggested that move on True.
You know what? I'm going to see if I adjust my volume on my mixer while that's playing, if it actually comes through louder, if I ever need to turn it up. Because it's really quiet on my end. I assume it's quiet on your end too, right? Yep. You guys let me know in chat if it's quiet on your end as well. I'm going to start this over.
The Trump Justice Department and the administration has asked the Internal Revenue Service to revoke Harvard University's tax-exempt status. This comes after President Trump suggested that move on Truth Social earlier in this week, that Harvard should lose its tax-exempt status. The move could cost the Ivy League institution billions of dollars. The Trump administration has already halted more than $2 billion in federal grants to the university over what the White House says was a failure to address anti-Semitism on campus. The Trump Justice Department,
which before I comment, did the volume go up on that when I turned my volume up?
No, it stayed the same.
Okay. Oh, but you got louder in my ear. Holy crap! I got to turn that back down. No.
Yeah, I'm somebody you don't want loud.
Right. And so I believe they cited anti-Semitism and oh, what was the other thing? I'm drawing a blank. I said on the tip of my tongue, but I think really the main thing is the anti-Semitism, which that's a concern. I don't like how anti-Semitism has suddenly stands out separate from racism. Because I mean, it kind of it falls in the same category. And when they focus on anti-Semitism, I feel like it's kind of enforcing a special privilege. I just, you know what I
You
mean,
would get called
without
anti-Semitic for saying that.
right, without going down the same thing every time, the same diatribe of, so and so is bad and whatever. It's just like
Right.
I don't know. Like I said, I
Well,
don't want to go down the whole path, but I just don't like how it keeps popping up, and it's anti-speech laws and things that kind of contradictory to like the whole it's the outlier to the whole mandate, right? That wasn't a part of the mandate.
yeah, well, I think especially for like on the grounds, forget like the deeper reasoning people will take and drive out of it. I think Anomaly has really good videos about that highlights just how inconsistent some people have been about free speech policies on that, and I encourage people to look at that. But for me, I guess it's kind of like hollowed out because I thought we were moving into a closer position of like free speech absolutism. I thought we were getting away from having these different forms of speech, right? And classifying, well, you can't say that because that's hate speech. And like, I thought we were moving away from these kinds of things. And I guess it's more so just disappointing that it's like those are the grounds that it goes under and not like just the general anti-American like indoctrination that's been going on. It's like
Right.
that's what we were willing to like fight over and fight for. And so you get to a point where it's like, yeah, you might agree with like they shouldn't be allowed to do that and stuff. And but I guess it just at the end of the day, it's also like I really don't know how to feel about it because it seems the priority or the hierarchy of the priorities just seems out of whack. And
Right.
ultimately, obviously, people are going to go one way or the other. But on just like free speech grounds, right? Like, I think people should be allowed to criticize anything at all, period. No matter
Yeah.
how much it makes somebody like upset or offended, or they use mean words or they used a slur. To me, it's like I've always been a free speech absolutist. Like, I could care less, like at all. I mean, when it comes to like obviously like conduct, right? And it's like, say, like they're actually literally protecting people who are being violent with other people or like actually targeting individuals and like doing things where they are actually like harassing them and they're taking it up from beyond like First Amendment. That's when it's like, okay, I understand that argument. But when I'm seeing stories of like a girl being arrested because she wrote an op-ed and they're citing it as like pro-Hamas propaganda, and then we can't see what she wrote because they pulled it off the website. It's like, well, now I just have to. I don't like being put in a position where I have to trust the government because I literally just do not trust the government at all. Even
Right.
inside the Trump administration, right? We're seeing what was that guy's name? Eric whatever, who was like under Pete Hegseth, who they just got rid of because apparently he was a leaker.
Yeah, they
I
got rid of 3 people, I guess, apparently now.
Right, and there's apparently there's a civil war that's happening that's being reported inside of the administration right now. Apparently, it's divided along the lines of like, well, who did they say it was? Hegseth, JD Vance, and someone else versus um, Waltz and Rubio and someone else because they are over how they want to approach Iran. And so even like inside the administration, it's clear we're not this unified force, and there's always could be other people who are acting on their own accord. So when you ask me to trust the government, I just simply say I can't do that. Like, I'm sorry. I like the government is just it's weaponized against the people. I can't trust it. And so I just always would err on the side of free speech absolutism. As much as it may make people uncomfortable, I think that I would always err on the free exchange of ideas, no matter how much it made someone feel like they were being, bullied, if you
Right.
will.
Well, it's just weird to me that it's like the government is specifically saying you can't talk about this one particular group of people, especially. It's kind of like, why? I don't
Right.
know. I don't know. TNT mentions that it's an excuse and it makes it a civil rights issue. Excuse me. Otherwise, they'd have hoops to jump through. And I do recognize that. He mentions that we hate winning, and I take the win when we get it. I find the anti-Semitism part of it, and you guys are probably right. All Companion says, I agree it's concerning. It may be that it's just better for Trump politically, though, rather than pointing out Harvard anti-American tendencies. You guys could be right. I don't know. It's a weird thing that keeps popping up, and to the First Amendment side of things, I don't know. I feel like it's a reach a little bit, but I will take the winning. I will take the winning. Harvard is definitely a woke DEI, university. They squander, squander every penny that the federal government gives them because they're not really putting out the best citizens that we know publicly. Like, there's a lot of people that you don't hear of, but a lot of the people that graduate Harvard, they end up giving money back to the university, and it's like, what are these universities are doing with all this money? You know what I'm saying? They don't even have sports teams that they're putting together or funding or whatever like that. Like, I know that's a whole nother side of things too. Like, I believe, well, it was probably 15 years ago, but the University of Nebraska had like hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars just sitting there of donor money in their sports department. Like, whatever. Just like, seems like they have more money than they know what to do with. Tuition's off the charts per student, and they're not kicking out anybody that into society that I'm proud of, at least. I know that during the Bud Light issue with Dylan Mulvaney, what was her name? Was she the chancellor? DEI hire that was got caught plagiarizing, ended up quitting.
Yeah. It was wasn't she the president?
She might have been the president or the chancellor. I can't remember. She might have been the top person.
Yeah, but like plagiarized like 85% of her all of her work and her papers were all like completely plagiarized. Right. Yeah, I mean, I guess like when I think about it though too, and TNT makes a good question, like why does it matter? Like, especially with like the foreigners, like I literally could care less. Like, I'm not going to fight for foreigners' rights at all.
Yeah.
I guess like I just am more concerned about like the precedent that it sets and a special exclusionary because like the reality is like this is not just like a one case all for this anti-Semitism stuff in the college campuses. We're seeing other states, and especially with like a year ago when they tried passing HR 6090, there's been this push not just at universities but everywhere else too to have like a protected class of people, and it falls under this anti-Semitism stuff. So I just don't like the precedent that it sets there. But on a second point too, like, what is the most name branded recognized university of all time? I mean, it's Harvard. Harvard is like and so like that's like an American, that's an
Notre
American
Dame. No, I'm just kidding.
Right, Notre Dame. But I mean, you think about it though, and like this, I kind of like the parallel here with the retreatism you see and like with churches as well too, where this is maybe one of like the most name brand recognizable universities of all time, if not ever. And we're basically kind of just killing it rather than retaking it. And I guess the overall sense is like maybe there would have been a better process to like retake the university and like capture it back culturally versus like literally killing it. Because I don't know how well Harvard may do. Maybe I'm not a financial expert on like what the colleges can be able to survive in there. But I guess overall, I kind of draw the likes to like all of the retreatism you see in churches, which is instead of like a lot of the Christians who knew their church was being effeminized, who knew their church was being gayified, they all decided like, you know what, instead of fighting for this church, I'm just not going to go anymore. And then in the end, it's like, well, then your church was just captured by all the gay homosexual people who wanted to say God is a woman and the they them. And so I guess I think there's other methods we could have probably went before straight like up killing the university, and pulling all of its funding all at once. Because once you lose something like that, it's hard to get it back. I mean, that's a university that was built on hundreds of years of history. And once you kind of destroy something like that, it's not like you can just like plant grow it in a couple of days. So overall, though, it's just a Terry
FO.
precedent. Right.
Sorry, I cut off your last statement there, but what we see them doing with culture and all that, it's counterproductive to the American society. So quit giving them the money. I like that. I like the concept. I wish Trump would stop giving federal funding to sanctuary cities and any of these, states essentially that go against federal jurisdiction,
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean,
that's
yeah,
interesting.
ultimately, it's just like, yeah, free speech, though. For me, that's just like my ultimate line. It's like anti-Semitism. Like, what does that mean? Like, someone said something bad about these people.
Well, and it's just call a riot a riot. Whenever they occupy the inside of a building, if it's Trump supporters on January 6th, it's an insurrection. If it's pro-Palestinian supporters, people that aren't necessarily even students at Harvard, and there are stories about how they're pissing in jugs and stuff like that or whatever, shitting in buckets. But you can't call that a riot or some type of I don't know what you call it, invasion. It's not a peaceful protest. That's all I got to say.
Well, think about it. So, I don't know.
You're
if
allowing that on campus and everything. It's just like, shoot.
Well, I don't know if you went to college or not. I just don't remember if you ever said that you did.
Oh no.
Okay. So
I did graduate high school, but
good. So at least how it was at the Ohio State University is that there are like the city police, and then there are like the campus police, and the campus police are bankrolled by the college. And so probably much like Harvard, they probably have Harvard police and then like the local city police and the area police as well. So like the college police are always going to be the first ones to respond to these things, organize the reports. They'll be the ones to declare whether it is a lawful gathering or an unlawful gathering. And so I think part of it goes back to the same thing we saw on January 6th, which was like the police that were handling J6 were obviously all Capitol Police, obviously all biased, obviously all. And we saw that clearly from all the reports, right? And it's because like part of them's bankrolled, they're closer to a lot of those DC area guys, and so they're much more likely to be politically aligned on that side. And I think the same thing is true with like the Harvard police. So probably the reason that you didn't see an immediate kind of call or getting a declaration of this has went from lawful to unlawful is because more than likely, like nobody wants to be the first cop to declare that, when they know maybe everybody in the university from staff, administration, and so on is all politically aligned in agreement with what the protest is about in the first place.
Yeah, I see. It's about staying in line rather than being the teacher that fails the 5-star athlete that's there on a full ride.
Right.
I want to step out of line. That's interesting. Right. It's better to just be a lemming rather than stand out.
That's what most people do. I mean, think about it too. Like, what was that report? Which I even fact checked on Grok, from Statista, and it blew me away. But I haven't seen many people talk about it. Which was like 81.3% of all Americans took the COVID vaccine, at least one dose of it. And I wasn't expecting that number was going to be that high.
Yeah,
but
I saw. Sorry, I was just going to say, I saw that Megyn Kelly actually is supposedly having some side effects. I'll end it right there. But you know what I mean? I mean, even these staunch people, Trump supporters, pundits, went and did it. So, yeah, it's pretty crazy. I'm right there with you, Marble. Never took it, not once. I don't even like being around. Don't even like being around people that took it personally.
Yep. And I mean, I was kind of disappointed because the way a lot of people I think talk, at least online, I would have thought it was closer to maybe a 60-40 or like at least a 70-30. Seeing that only 19% of all Americans like didn't take it. I think that just speaks to overall just how effective it was. I mean, the whole you know, the mandate and the lockdowns. You know, it's concerning because it's in that same line, right? It's so much easier to just go along with things than be the one who wants to stand up alone and say, hey, I don't think this is right. But I did see that picture you sent me, Chris. Is this it looks like an iPhone cover?
I think it's,
Or is it like a cutting board? It looks cool though. I like that you
Yeah.
burned it into the emblem though.
yeah, Chris sent us a picture of the Jar Openers podcast logo. Maybe it's burnt into wood, or
But that's really cool. I appreciate that, Chris.
not 100% sure, but that's pretty cool, Chris. He sent that to us on Discord. Just a reminder, you guys can join the Discord. Down in the description, we have the link posted. So make sure to do that if you are a person with Discord or you just want to be involved on a daily basis with what we have going on, kind of behind the scenes, building the community and stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna put it on screen just so people could see it for a second.
Yeah, Chris, thanks for saying be careful talking about this. That's why I was being as cautious as possible. It was a side note that I saw Megyn Kelly was having some health issues. I'm like, whoa, I can't believe that she'd actually even be having to deal with that. But, you know, I guess maybe she's a do what I say, not what I do type of person. I'll leave it there.
Right. Yeah, pretty cool though. I'm surprised you got the podcast to be as clear at that bottom, like that smaller font there.
Yeah, that's cool. Appreciate that. That's pretty awesome, Chris. So
Yep.
anyways, that's the breaking news. Trump is apparently going after Harvard. You know the crazy part about this, and I don't know if Harvard is like an exception, but don't the states give a lot of money to the big universities as well? I know, like, for example, Bill Self, the KU basketball coach, is the highest paid state employee in Kansas, which I just think that's
Yeah.
I think that's so weird that in most of the states, the highest paid state employee is actually a head coach for one of the universities, whether it be in football or basketball. Just weird, you know. It's like, how does the money from that sport somehow go back into the state? Like, I'd be curious to know how that money is all divided, going back and forth and everything like that, because seems like the federal government and the state like to spend a lot of money on universities that still cost $30,000 a year for a student to go to attend. It's
Right.
just like, what costs so much? Like, damn, should have been a professor, right?
Right. Well, then, I mean, my experience with college was miserable. I mean, even when I was in college, it was diversity HQ. You know, and I was going from like the 2016 era. Previously, actually, before that, from like 2014 to 2018 was when I was going.
Oh,
And,
hey, what
you
up,
know,
Earl's daughter? Sorry.
you could have seen the writing on the wall.
Yeah, I never even gave it a shot, man. I was a dad by the time I was 16, 17, and it was it was everything enough for me just to get the high school diploma, which I did. But I was a dad for the last year. High school.
Yep. Same with me, but just for college. I became a dad in the final year of college.
Oh, gotcha. TNT says, I think the states match federal funding dollar for dollar. I might be wrong, but I swear that's how it goes. Yeah, I'm kind of curious now that we kind of delved down this avenue, but maybe we'll find out more in the future. Let's go on to this next one.
It's limited.
Oh, wait.
They get limited state funding
Okay.
because they're not full on like public university, right? They don't admit everybody.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
like one of the bylines for getting state funding, and what separates like a state school versus a non-state school. Which actually they found unique ways around. Like, for example, like with Ohio State, they actually almost like privatized their main campus by they would only accept, like when I was going, what is it, the ACT? That's one of the state tests instead of like the SAT. I
Yeah.
took the ACT, and they had kind of like a cutoff where anybody who got less than like a 27 27 or 28 on their ACT was like not admitted into main campus, but they would allow admission into like Newark campus or their Lima campus, or there's like 2 other ones I'm not thinking of. And that's their way they could get around it, which is saying like, no, we don't deny anyone. It's just that like we deny main campus. Then but you still get accepted into all the other satellite campuses. But that's kind of like what separates it, right? So like state schools that get state funding, like basically aren't allowed to have pretty like high standards that, people can't access to university for.
Huh. Interesting. Okay, well, let's move on to this next one. Was it the Massachusetts one that we were talking about that we wanted to go back to next? I think that's
No,
what it was.
We'll go to RFK.
RFK, that's what it was. Okay. It's like, that doesn't feel right, but maybe that is what it was.
Yeah, but it's like a 9-minute clip here from Gunther Eagleman. Basically the whole thing.
Okay, so we'll just set it up. Gunther Eagleman, RFK Jr. is doing a presser on autism rates. You need to watch every second of this. It's going to blow your mind. So we're going to go ahead and let it rip. Should be good.
Yeah, you're spot on, Tix.
I'm going to go over some of the key numbers from the ADDM report. Overall, the autism is increasing in prevalence at an alarming rate. The study tests 8-year-olds who were born in 2014. And by the way, these studies are 2 years later than they should be. And one of the things that we're going to do as we move this function to the Administration for a Healthy America, to the chronic disease division, the new chronic disease division, is we are going to have updated real-time data so that people can look at this, so Americans can understand what is happening with chronic disease in this country in real time, and not have to wait 2 years to react. We don't wait 2 years to react to a measles epidemic, and we should not, or any kind of infectious disease. We shouldn't have to do that for diabetes or autism. The ASD prevalence rate in 8-year-olds is now 1 in 31. Shocking. There's an extreme risk for boys. Overall, the risk for boys of getting an autism diagnosis in this country is now 1 in 20. And as high in California, which has the best data collection. So it probably also reflects the national trend, 1 in 12.5 boys. This is part of an unrelenting upward trend. The prevalence 2 years ago was 1 in 36. Since the first ADDM report in 1990, which was 1992 births, autism has increased by a factor of 4.8. That's 480%, I believe. The first ADDM survey was 22 years ago when prevalence was 1 in 150 children. In all the core states, the trend is consistently upward, and most cases now are severe. So about 25% of the kids who are diagnosed with autism are nonverbal, non-toilet trained, and have other stereotypical features, head banging, tactile and light sensitivities.
Okay, real quick. He said 1 in 5 right there.
He said 1 in 4. 1 in 4 of all those kids who are diagnosed with with an autism diagnosis, 25% of them have extreme diagnoses. And
right,
so
where they can't talk or not functioning, like you said, head banging, stuff like that.
Right, and that's what's mainly defined by the nonverbal, and then I think the non-toilet trained are like the 2 big ones.
Okay, because I was wondering, TNT Cycles mentions here, I have to question their data. Are they simply overdiagnosing boys because they like to play more? That's a very valid question, and I think that is one of the factors, to be honest with you. But the fact that 1 in 4 are nonverbal, or in that ranking or whatever, makes me think that they're not simply overdiagnosing boys because they like to play more. Maybe some, maybe, well, I don't know. It's hard to guess, but wow, if 1 in 4, damn, that's insane. These numbers are off the charts. JB asked a good question too. I wonder how many of these parents take prescriptions. That's definitely a valid question in my opinion, and it kind of goes with what TNT said. Is I wonder if these people are just, giving pills to their kids because that's the solution that these people have grown up to see. That's how you fix problems or whatever. But anyway,
Well, I mean, it's still insane that in California, boys have an 8% chance of being diagnosed with autism.
right.
I mean, that's incredible.
Right. When I heard that initially off rip, I say, oh, well, that's just them overdiagnosing. It's every little boy. It's stuck up, California, rich parents don't want to deal with their kids. So they want to get them on some kind of pill to straighten them out. Right. But maybe not. Maybe not, but that was just my gut reaction. But let's continue here.
Stimming, toe walking, etc. One of the things that I think that we need to move away from today is this ideology that the autism diagnosis, that the autism prevalence increases, the relentless increases, are simply artifacts of better diagnoses, better recognition, or changing diagnostic criteria. If you look at Table 3 of the ADDM report, it's clear that the rates are real, that they are increasing in the last 10 years, which is the beginning with the first one, year by year, there is a steady, relentless increase. I want to, because this epidemic denial has become a feature in the mainstream media, and it's based on an industry canard. And obviously, there are people who don't want us to look at environmental exposures. And so I want to just read you some of little excerpts from some of the older studies. The baseline for autism in this country was established with the largest epidemiological study in history, a study of all 900,000 children in the state of Wisconsin, children under the age of 12. They found 0.7 children had autism in every 10,000. That's less than 1 in 10,000. Today we're at 1 in 31.
That is aggressive. To go from less than 1 in 10,000 to 1 in 31.
Yeah,
that is aggressive.
it's
Now, there
very. I
Go
was just
ahead.
going to say it's indicative of some type of cause, the effect of some sort of cause, right? What is the cause?
Right. And obviously he's laying out that it's clear he's getting pushback for looking into environmental concerns. But something of note too is obviously there's a disparity between men and between boys and girls. Obviously boys are getting declared at a higher rate, which I think overall, when you look at some of the slightly changing definitions, and also like kind of how it's like not a social fad, but it's maybe that's the best way to describe it, right? Like, some of your people, even here in chat will say like, oh man, like I wouldn't have done that if I wasn't autistic, right? And like things like that. So people kind of use it almost as like it's like a step above being retarded. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's like, people say when they do it, like stupid stuff like that as well. But obviously, one thing to note here too is, obviously he talks about like the California data collection being like the most like in depth of them all, which would make sense when you think about of all the states that probably has the most kind of diverse and robust mental illness kind of literature, it probably would be California. They probably do hand out mental illness designations more so than other states, just because they are so wokeified over there too. So I think like there's obviously a part of that that plays into it as well, but I don't think that's enough to explain just how over time those rates have continually increased to an exceptional level, especially when there is data showing that like there are extreme examples of this with the severe cases of the autism as well too. And one thing to note too, yes, the SSRIs are antidepressants. You more often probably know them like as Lexapro, what's like one like Proloft. Like there's a lot of common ones that are out there now, that people use for antidepressants. And I think some birth controls actually come in tandem with SSRIs too. So like,
Interesting.
16-year-old girls getting antidepressants mixed in with their birth control doesn't make for a good hormonal cocktail.
Alt Companion mentions that RFK said they've looked at the numbers and it's absolutely not that it's overdiagnosed. Good to know. Good to know.
Yep.
Tix Bomber mentions what's in the food and water, what's in the vaccines slash drugs, which those are in the water. I've heard that a lot of the prescription drugs people take ends up in the water system.
What is it? What is it was atrazine, right? They're turning the effing frogs gay.
They're turning the frogs gay.
Yeah. Which I mean, it's true. I mean, and you think about other things too, like with, for example, like sucralose. I'm sure people are familiar with like aspartame, right? Like aspartame is like the artificial sweetener put in like things like Diet Pop to make it like taste sweet, and then sucralose is like the secondary version of it. But like sucralose is like incapable of being broken down by nature. And so the longer that we use it, the more sucralose actually seeps into our water supply. And so I'm sure that
Crazy.
there's actually other chemicals like that as well that are completely man-made artificial constructs that, for one, we don't even know like how some of these have long-term effects by themselves, in the same way that like we have no real hard data on things like combo vaccinations. It's probably in the same light of like, we really don't know, let alone what the long-term consequences of a singular high dosage of what this sucralose is over a long period of time. Then you add in like, well, what if they were also getting sucralose, atrazine,
Birth
and
control.
right, and the same thing with like these SSRIs and all these medications, they find their way into water supplies. So we don't really know. And if you look at like things like microplastics in people in men's ball sacks, right? Like all these like rising things that we're finding, things like brake dust being stuck in people's lungs, because it can penetrate on like on the particle level. Like all these things like we just really like basically don't know. And there's only so much you can pull back to at this point anyways, right? Like the environment is such a hard thing to control. I mean, you'd have to like basically lock down the entire like country and then do like excessive like hazmat operations if you wanted to actually like make some like true headway on stuff like this.
Oh
And then
yeah,
you
for
think for
real.
like East Palestine, right? Like that whole that's like one example of like all these chemicals being instantly interjected into that entire ecosystem over there. And over a long enough period of time, that stuff finds its way and filters itself like across that area. Now, some chemicals obviously will stay a lot more locked based on if they're in solid state or they're gases or they're liquids. But again, it's like you can only do this type of stuff for a long enough period of time before 10% of every water source you drink from has some kind of cancerous, toxic material in it. So we're going to have to develop new kind of filtration systems that filter out for things like, sucralose. Soon everybody will have to boil their water every single day because like it's just so contaminated. It's like Fallout.
Jamie asked if that was the chicken. Yes, the chicken is still here. Have not made chicken dinner yet. Unfortunately, I don't know if she's gonna recover. And I mean, she doesn't bother me sitting here, but I feel bad for her. Her legs just aren't working right. But appreciate you sharing that about your child there, Earl's daughter, by the way. Not putting any of it on screen, but appreciate it. I'm reading along.
Wouldn't it be funny you come on Saturday eating a nice big old fried piece of chicken? Like, I wonder where that fried chicken came from. Right.
Yeah. Here.
What did Earl say? I missed that part.
Who?
I missed the comment from Earl's daughter. I'm reading it now.
Oh yeah, she's got a few. But yeah, I'm glad you had a good doctor. That's pretty awesome, Earl's daughter. You had a good doctor that you talked to initially about that. Let's see here. No noise, just fried chicken. LOL. So yeah, we're only halfway through this. Let's go ahead and continue playing. Sorry, we got a little off track there for a second.
That study also confirmed the 4-to-1 male to female ratio. There were at that time just over 60 children in Wisconsin with autism. And today it's around 20,000. In 1987, there was another exhaustive study, a peer-reviewed study in North Dakota, set out to count every child in the state with a pervasive developmental disorder, including autism. That study meticulously combed through every record, every diagnosis, and he even conducted in-person assessments of the entire population of 180,000 children under 18. The autism rate they found was 3.3 per 10,000. So that's in line with the 1 in 10,000 that was found in Wisconsin 17 years earlier. For context, today, the last number of 1 in 36 is 83 times higher. In 1987, out of 1 million, every 1 million kids, 330 were diagnosed with autism. Today, there are 27,777 for every million. If you accept the epidemic deniers narrative, you have to believe that researchers in North Dakota missed 98.8% of the children with autism. That thousands of profoundly disabled children were somehow invisible to doctors, teachers, parents, and even their own study. The same researchers who followed the original cohort for 12 years to double check their number, they went back in 2000 and found that they had missed exactly one child. So doctors and therapists in the past were not stupid. They weren't missing all these cases. The epidemic is real. Between 1959 and 1965, researchers from 14 hospitals associated with major universities undertook the National Collaborative Perinatal Project, tracking 30,000 children from birth to age 8. This was no half-baked survey-based analysis. The study conducted 9 separate screenings covering neurology, psychology, speech, language, hearing, and visual function. Every developmental quirk, anomaly, and disorder was logged with painstaking detail. Autism, a condition characterized by profound impairments in social communication and behavior, would have stood out like a neon sign. There were 14 cases. That's 4.7 per 10,000. So we know what the historic numbers are, and we know what the numbers are today. And it's time for everybody to stop attributing this to this ideology of epidemic denial. In 2009, the California state legislature charged the Mind Institute at UC Davis with because this myth was already becoming pervasive, the myth of epidemic denial was already becoming pervasive in the mainstream media. The California legislature directed the Mind Institute at UC Davis to answer the question. And Irva Hertz-Pichotto is a highly esteemed, revered scientist, neurology, and epidemiologist, came back with a definitive answer. The epidemic is real. Only a very, very small portion of it can be changed to can be charged to better recognition or better diagnostic criteria. I want to say a couple of other things. There are many, many other studies that affirm this. And
Dang.
Right. Terrifying revelation. You know, one thing I wanted to add in there too, a lot of the data that he's pulling is from the ADDM network, which is the Autism and Developmental Disabilities Monitoring Network. So like why he was focusing on them there too. They primarily track 4-year-olds and 8-year-olds. I think that's like when they make those two major diagnoses at like those two kind of major steps at life. But yeah, I mean, it's just, I think that the prospect overall is, for one, just terrifying because it's not like you can reverse this, right? Especially once your kid does develop autism, as many parents and unfortunately come to the understanding when that does happen and they see regression in their children. And then also just the going back to like the free speech emphasis on this discussion is once again a topic that is entirely not safe or allowed on certain platforms because of the what's the right word, maybe because of what the consequences may be if some of these things are true, especially as it relates to its correlation and rather what RFK seems to be suggesting, the causation as it relates to environmental factors, not up to and including things like vaccines. It's I'm just glad that we have someone who seemingly would care about these things. I think obviously he might be captured on some other regards, but this was a nice, good development to see from that. Can't wait to see either one, this get, called fake news and the left kind of spirals out about it. But also, two, probably more likely that, as you guys seemingly no one had seen this yet, it's going to get buried and no one's going to talk about it. And ultimately continues to get buried, same way which he was pointing at to, which is the myth of the non-epidemic, which is how most people and any researchers and stats individuals were highlighting it as saying as if it wasn't real at all. Ultimately, then when push comes to shove, like he highlighted there in the last bit with that prominent individual, that yeah, when you're forced to answer the question and look at the data, you're forced to say yes, there is an epidemic. And it's just unfortunate because I'm sure a lot of people may know parents who have autistic children. I think a lot of new parents also fear, because we don't know what's causing it. They fear basically anything that they do medically wise with their children may ultimately be the linchpin and that what regresses their child. And I think no parent obviously wants to see that happen to their kids. And it's just a very it's just unfortunate overall. And I think it's one of those things that, again, that you don't need a conspiracy for, but you look at large about how everything's kind of carrying itself. This pitches in with like the depopulation agenda, right? And if they can't, basically if they can't abort you, everything in your environment will try to retard you before you can even make it right to being a teenager.
Make you infertile, whatever, right? Six Palmer asked, what the fuck did they start doing in 2008? And TNT mentions that in 2008, the housing market bubble busted and China captured our drug market. So that's interesting. I don't know. Was that fact checked by House AI? I don't know, but no, that actually makes sense. I don't know if that correlates, but
good.
I wouldn't put it past China, and it would be another reason why we need to bring our production of our our pharmaceuticals, our antibiotics and stuff like that back into our own country. Make sure that it's not being built by people that want to ultimately rule over us, which, I mean, let's be real. Big pharma wants to rule over us as well, but it just is what it is, I guess. No, weird. We just had a huge drop off of people. Like 10 people just clicked away. I wonder what that's about. It's a glitch in the matrix.
RFK sports.
Come back to YouTube. What are you guys doing? Now, let's see here. One thing I wanted to say about this whole, conference from RFK Jr. is, oh yeah, Timcast. You're right. Thanks, TNT. Yep, 8 o'clock. Everybody went over to Tim. Sorry, I appreciate everybody for being here until then. I don't mind being the pre-show.
Oh yeah, I forgot this is a thing.
Yeah. But I feel like RFK Jr. was campaigning a little bit right here. It's like, dude, you don't need to campaign anymore. You got the job. Like, I appreciate you letting us know these numbers, but like, let's fix it. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
you don't have to campaign anymore. I feel like he's campaigned for so long that maybe oh, I just got your message. But maybe I don't know. He's just kind of stuck in his old ways. And it's like, okay, bro, now that you have the mic and the pedestal, let us know. And then tomorrow tell us some solution. I was hoping in the end that in that last minute he would propose some type of like solution that he had, coming up. We're gonna do something to address this. We're launching an investigation. We're launching a research team. We're funding a program that's gonna, delve into this deeper and challenge pharmaceutical companies or challenge whatever, you know what I mean? Something. But
I think they did announce though before this press that they will be doing a large scale investigation. I'm actually trying to double check that now.
okay.
But it could also be a part of like prepping, I guess, like prepping the mainstream, I guess. But yeah, here I just went and double rechecked it. This is from Grok, but it's also citing CNN and Newsweek. But it says that RFK and the U.S. Health and Human Services is announced a massive testing and research effort to determine the cause of rising autism rates, which he refers to as an autism epidemic. So firstly, I think the president, what has to be said first, which I think is what he was doing with this presser, was saying it's real. Because if you look at other sources, they would just tell you like, no, it's not real. Or they would do like what I was saying earlier, which was a lot of people say like, no, it's actually because autism has a looser definition. There's no rise of autism at all. So I think at first you have to lay out the facts and the research that shows like, actually, no, it's not just loose definitions. There is a growing, rise in actual autism, not like loose definition autism. And then secondly, you move to pinpoint what is the cause or causes or leading cause. And then third, then is implement solution and figure out like what to go. So we're kind of like in phase one of it. So you kind of got to break the shackles and that mental ice around the idea that it's not happening, right? Because some people would argue till they're blue in the face that, autism, nothing's happening and there's no link to autism whatsoever. More than likely because they have maybe ties to big pharma or they're just, wokeified at all. But I think that's like kind of like phase one. But again, the presser was, I think, a lot longer than that. And I think there were more people who spoke at that press release too. But I ultimately agree with you. Like, I think for something this important, and this is no dig on RFK, it's just unfortunate, but you would think you would have someone who could very eloquently speak about such a prominent issue. Because I think Tick said it best, right? Like the amount of the labor, the mental labor that's required to listen to RFK and hear the words that he's saying is intense.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been better, like had they had somebody, say it for him,
Mm-hmm.
and be an easier way to get information across.
Right, you're right about that. It seems like he's struggling, struggling to talk, and it's painful. You're right. Jamie said she just checked Timcast, and apparently he's trying to shove gambling in everybody's faces now, and people are calling him a shill. What it was the sponsor for his show, like one of the gambling sites or something? I don't know. I'm curious now. I usually do try to catch Tim's shows after we're live in the evenings. And by the way, shout out to the folks over watching on X. I noticed that there was no reduction of numbers at 8 o'clock when Tim's show started. So appreciate y'all. Appreciate everybody on YouTube too. Don't get me wrong.
All my homies on X hate Tim Pool.
Make sure to give me a follow Atlas as well, all that good stuff. I'll follow you back as long as your account's not a bunch of nonsense or in a different language or whatever. You gotta at least be able to read some stuff and be somewhat engaging. But yeah.
Right.
So
Want
Go
to go
ahead.
into Carmelo Anthony?
I was going to
You
just
go
touch on Native Patriot real fast, and then we'll go to
Oh, yeah.
Carmelo Anthony.
Forgot about that.
So our friend Native Patriot and his co-host Steve Loves Ammo apparently were both swatted in this last week, and it's it's crazy. It's making its way down its ranks, and I can't help but wonder if I should make a call. And Alice, you should maybe make a call to your local sheriff's department or whoever, and say, hey, look, we're in the space, because who knows? You know, I mean, look, my phone number is in Native Patriot's phone, and they stole his phone number, and we're about to check. Well, I'll just show you what they did to him.
Yeah, I'm gonna hear ding dong here in a couple of seconds. Like, oh shit.
Right, and apparently he lives, you know, kind of off the beaten path. So this is pretty wild for it to happen to him. Let's see here.
Yeah. Well, most importantly, too, he's quoting Dan Bongino, which people are still upset that like not enough has been done about the swatting, because there was, I can't remember exactly how long ago, but there was a string of swattings that happened to like, and we covered it, right? It was like Owen Schroyer, Chase Geiser, I think Harrison Smith, and then a group of all these other conservative pundits. I think Steve Loves Ammo was also
Yeah, I think Cat
swatted
Turd.
in too. Yeah, and Cat Turd, and I think Marjorie Taylor Greene as well. And again, but nothing was happened. And you also have to understand though too, like the difficulty of chasing down swatters when you have like generative AI, and you can have kind of automated systems that do it with like fake voices, so like nobody ever actually really made a call, and it becomes super hard to track, and they immediately get thrown into the federal jurisdiction because it's more than likely but over state lines, and so it's already thrust out of local municipalities. And so it's just a rough situation, but it's like it's not stopping, and I really don't think we have a good solution to prevent swatting.
No, unfortunately I don't think so either. And Native Patriot even counters. It was just in the comments on one of his posts. Somebody mentions that they need to vet swattings and make the person who's calling give their identification. And Native Patriot jumped in and said, "No, that's not what we need. There could be people that actually call 911 and need help. So that's not a solution." I found that, you know, rather noble. We see that he posted here on Dan Bongino's post that him and Steve Loves Ammo, his co-host, were both swatted within 24 hours of each other. They posted that 23 hours ago, but that was in response to Dan Bongino's post that said, "Swatting is deadly serious. The potential for serious injury or death is high. I've asked our team to double efforts to locate the people and or groups behind it. I'm on the road in our I'm on the road in our field offices handling other sensitive matters, but I'll be monetizing. Got monetizing stuck on my head. I'll be monitoring progress, and I hope to have some updates soon." And so then Native Patriot actually reposted that and said, "Dan, I just got swatted last night and currently getting a shit ton of deliveries done with my phone number all around the country." And you can just see he's basically scrolling here, and it's all messages from DoorDash and Domino's Pizza and Pizza Hut and every pizza place you can think of. And it's so-and-so's in your neighborhood will arrive shortly. Your delivery driver's on the way. All this type of stuff. It's a 43-second video of him just scrolling. And what Native Patriot ended up doing was he was trying to let me find the post here.
Because he got hold of DoorDash directly, right?
Yeah, well, he was trying to. Here it is. He updated and said 8 accounts under my phone number, and they said they can't do anything about it, and they hung up on me again. He's talking about DoorDash, and he's calling DoorDash asking for help, trying to, prevent these delivery drivers from wasting their time, wasting the food, however all that stuff goes. And I got to admit, I don't really use DoorDash. It's expensive to get stuff to come out to my house, and not any of the like local places really deliver. Just fast food isn't close to me really. I got a Dairy Queen that's in part of a gas station, and that's it really. But Uh, like I said, I got the Wendy's. I told you guys about the Wendy's. It'll close on a Saturday because nobody shows up to work. So I don't even act like that place is here. He followed up and said that DoorDash told him that they can't blacklist his phone number, and then they hung up on him after saying just contact the stores. So they're acting like the burden was on him to call all of these stores that had been had orders made in his phone number and tell them, hey, cancel this, not me. And it's just like, it's not even a possibility, right?
Right.
Is somebody asked him who pays for these orders? I don't DoorDash, but I assume the person who ordered must pay in advance. No. And he said, nope, it's pay on delivery. So it's literally the drivers getting screwed over. And that's a part of what he was concerned about too. He wasn't just worried about himself, his phone number and everything like that. He was, talking about, he's thinking about the drivers too. They're wasting their time, their money, their gas, everything, all for nothing.
Right.
Let's see here. What else did he say? Let me just go to his account because he posted quite a bit about it. I didn't have it pulled up already. I just told myself I'd come back to it. So he mentions here, which by the way, he did start a YouTube channel. You guys should check it out. It's same name that he uses, Native Patriot, or it might be Law Native Patriot, but yeah, he's on YouTube now. He's over on Rumble. So is this show. But he said in this post, the craziest part about the whole swatting harassment crap, I live in the woods. I work 50 hours a week changing tires. Podcasting is such and such is my hobby. And this made him mad enough to target me. So seems I've touched a nerve. I pray I can hone in on that nerve and expose whatever evil they're mad I'm exposing. F commies, you can't stop this movement. It's not me, it's you. I just exposed your evil deeds, and I'm not first, and I won't be the last. Get bent. God wins in the end. It's a great post. And then let's see here. He's been posting. He had some other stuff in here.
It's unfortunate too, because he recently announced like he was going to start stepping away from all this stuff because he wasn't making enough money until he kind of restructured what he was doing with his channels and stuff. And then you have this happen when you're trying to walk away from it. It's like, that's got to suck.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and then here's a follow-up. He said, good news, orders are being canceled before they have to call me. My number is being blacklisted. This onslaught will slow now. And so he shared a screenshot that's saying his order's been canceled. I liked this post. He posted this picture here of some chickens with a rooster in the middle. And I thought this was pretty cool. I'll read part of it. Recently becoming the target of a swatting drives me... Recently becoming the target of a swatting drives me to bring, why do I keep trying to say bring or being instead of bring, but whatever, drives me to bring back this story of Bartholomew, my old rooster. What you do first, oh my goodness, I can't read all of a sudden. I'm dyslexic. Let me call RFK.
You graduated high school at least.
I'm a high school graduate. I was hooked on phonics. Okay, so what do you notice first when you look at this photo? There's one thing that sticks out more than the others, and that's the rooster, Bartholomew. The hens tend to look identical to each other to blend in, not with their background, but with each other. It's harder for predators to single one of them out. It's just a blob of hens. But they will still get picked off one by one if allowed. This has been the silent majority over the past couple of decades, blending in with each other and not being too loud as to attract predators, keeping their heads down, hoping the commies may pass you by. Fealty will not save you. When you enter the public sphere of politics and you disagree with the current narrative, you then become the target, a responsibility that must be accepted in order to initiate change. Stop being a hen. Be bold like Bartholomew. Steadfast in your beliefs and understand that becoming a target is part of the process. Peace through strength. Peace will never happen, though. Peace will never happen through compromising with evil. That's just obedience. Evil will never retreat willingly. It must be beaten back. My words, my message is not reckless. and I do not wish to bring harm upon myself or my family, but my message resonates with many, and exposes the evil. Excuse me, and exposes the evil already embedded in our society, lurking deep down, and will randomly strike at the weak or unexpected. Bartholomew wasn't afraid to stick out from all the others because he understands his own role. He is the protector. He crows each morning to let these MFers know, I'm here. If you want my hens, you have to come through me. Not every story ends happy. Bartholomew is now in Rooster Valhalla after dying to protect his flock. His mentality was right, though. I'd rather die on my feet than live on my knees. Give me liberty or give me death. Protect your flock. It's your responsibility. God bless you all, and God bless America. And so I thought that was great. I love the noble rooster story. And I got a rooster that looks just like this dude. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Well, so
But,
I'm trying to listen to this like great story, and you have text in here saying he had hooked on ebonics when he went to school one time, and then TNT says, "Damn, it's this RFK reading." Like I'm trying to listen to a good heartwarming story over
guess
here.
we're chilling.
That
It's
was
all right.
funny.
It's
I
all
had
right.
to mute myself.
I think I read better than most high school graduates. So the problem is, it's a blessing, is I've developed my reading skills to where I read like 3 or 4 words ahead of what's coming out of my mouth, but my eyes skip over, like I'm just scanning. And so if there's like a word like what was it, the beginning? Oh, it says bring, but I was trying to say my mind was seeing something else, right? And so it throws me off completely. So it's not fully developed, but
I'm
getting
definitely clipping this, and the title is "Worrell Explains Reading."
there. Well, I don't know. I wasn't like that when I first started the channel reading news articles. I was, saying what I was reading in my mind, and then over time, I noticed my eyes would be way ahead than what was coming out of my mouth, and then in that, I started skipping over words or whatever. But
Right. No, for me, it was like the
Chris
opposite,
says we're
actually.
all assholes. LOL.
Yeah, right. When I was taught with like reading, especially as it relates to like public speaking, we were doing like stuff in school because like I was in like a lot of stuff like debate and like a lot of like the and now I consider like just gay kind of extracurriculars. But they
Yeah,
would do
not me.
things like
All I
they would
did was sleep through class and go to wrestling practice and baseball.
really, so they would actually take away like our note cards, and you would get docked points if you ever faced like your presentation. So I just like got in the habit of like reading through something and like
Ah.
just paraphrasing it. So like understanding what the point is, and then not specifically even reading directly like what's off of the page. And dude, people would get docked points all the time. I can remember like you would, because we did things like senior presentations, and you would have to give like a good presentation like for your final. It's like your major final project when I was in high school, and it had to be like a 25-minute presentation, and you would get graded on like a rotating panel of judges from different teachers from around the school. And I can't tell you, like this one guy got docked like 20 points purely because it was like 3 points, or no, it was like 4 points every time you look at your slides. So anytime that you would have actually like faced your presentation while you were talking or giving a presentation, they'd immediately dock you points for it. And he almost failed because he kept forgetting what he had to say. So he kept like looking at like his PowerPoint and then going back to it and like trying to go pick up where he was at. It was brutal, but it did help me with like public speaking. Like now
Nice.
it's very easy to do.
Yeah, I don't have the fear of public speaking. Sometimes my brain just don't work. I'm unmedicated ADHD, right? So just is what it is. I don't care. You guys can make fun of me.
But yeah, then obviously prayers out to Native Patriot. Hopefully this stops. But again,
And he did report. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I just don't foresee this kind of narrative like changing. I really don't. As much as I see them all talk about how it's bad and negative, I don't see any kind of real expedient, quick solution that just makes this stop happening, overnight. Not until, I think Elmo had floated something like some kind of counter AI that helps, filter things out if they can detect certain things from calls. But I think that might even be a little bit down the line before we get something firstly developed and then secondly actually implemented at a level of where it's actually beneficial and people like Native Patriot don't have to experience something like that. But like everything else with evil, right? It's like, yeah, you can take away the guns, they'll start stabbing you. You can take away the knives, well, they'll start choking each other out with napkins. So for here, it's like they might figure out how to like stop swatting calls through food delivery apps, but maybe they find like a new way where, all of a sudden like Amazon won't leave your house. They're like, hey man, you ordered 18,000 packages from Amazon delivery. Like, get out here, dog.
The whole semi pulls up. It's like, this is yours.
Right. Yeah. Walmart delivery semi truck comes out. They're like, hey man, I need someone to sign for like 18,000 piles of styrofoam. Like, what? Not gonna
Yeah.
order that. They'll just find new and more unique ways to do it because that's just how evil works.
Yeah, definitely. But he did reply, or he did also update and say that he has a relationship with this local police department, and everything was fine. Everybody was fine, and wasn't one of these extreme Owen Schroyer, take your shirt off, crawl backwards to us. No, you can't record, high intense moments where multiple people with weapons, pointed at a person and all that stuff. So at least there's a
Right.
good ending to that, but it's a bummer. It's a bummer. We hate that this is happening, and they're just trying to stop us, and we won't be stopped. So
Right.
it is what it is. But let's go ahead and move on now. What did you want to move on to next? The Karmelo?
Yeah. Because I think that there's some major points about the Karmelo story that need to be addressed.
Do you want to go through the points? You want to take the lead on this one?
Yeah.
You kind of
'cause I can make it pretty
put
quick.
this together, and I feel like since you pieced all the pieces together here, that you probably could roll through it quicker. And
Yeah. Yeah.
everything
So
done.
well, yeah. So if you just want to put that very first one on the screen from AF
Okay.
Post from Give Send Go from the CEO, Jacob Wells. So the story as it sits right now is there are major conflicting reports with Carmelo Anthony. So I saw early reported from places like the New York Post, as well as Benny Johnson, many other major people posting about this. They said that Carmelo Anthony purchased a home in Escalade and Jordan's with the funds that he had raised following a surge of donations from the Give Send Go. The CEO, however, later and earlier today, about a few hours ago, said that he's saying that from what he can see on the campaign recipient side of his website when Give Send Go, that none of that money has been pulled or withdrawn from the website yet, which is changing the dynamic because a lot of things are being reported, and you would be led to believe that he used the funds from his Give Send Go to purchase all of these things, as if like he was just immediately turning all of the crowdfunding from a legal defense into buying things for himself or the family enriching themselves, which apparently, at least from the CEO of Give Send Go, is like not true. So I wanted to like float that out there because I think the narrative is being dominated by the fact that most people are being led to believe they just bought this home and all of that with these crowd funds. And I'd be like the last person to like defend an act like this, especially given like all the other details. But just to throw that caveat out there. Now, the next one we're on there is actually Dom Luker. He put together a longer post talking about how like nefarious he finds this, and I thought that was good too. But that the fact is like they didn't even like buy the house either. It's like being leased by like two Indian moguls, which I don't remember their names off the top of my head. That they also had they're like helping pay for it in some regard or like some kind of lease. So they actually technically didn't buy the home with any amount of money. Now, regardless of what's going on, I think this is obviously being picked apart by black conservatives. Now, Dom Luker, Bryson Gray, and a few other black conservatives are people that I saw start highlighting this because obviously I think they're clearly going to be a bit more inclined to defend things along racial lines. And so they're probably following the story a bit closer than you would imagine maybe most people would be. And I've seen multiple people say they are seeing conflicting stuff, saying like it's not true. It's fake news that he's bought the house with his funds. At least it's just like for right now is up in the air of like all the details. So just put a pause button on like maybe it's fraudulent, maybe it's not. I'm inclined to believe that there's probably some kind of fraud surrounding this with how they're getting the money. But regardless, it's bad optics because from what I had read, that the family had actually argued to the judge to actually decrease the bond that was set for him because they were not in a good financial position. And then, so if that's true, but they still have the
According
money
to the
to then,
father, right?
right? And according to the father, but if that's not true, and they lied to the judge to decrease his bond, so they could leverage their personal funds to buy a new home without ever having to dip into the legal defense fund, it's clear they're playing games, and they probably lied a little bit and they fudged a little bit to what the judges. So it's not a good look there either. And the second thing is, if you go to that third one there, Worrell, is that Dominique Alexander, who has been pictured, that other, when he got home, the famous picture you're seeing float where he's standing next to another individual, it's actually in the thumbnail on this. I actually included that. So that individual standing next to him is Dominique Alexander, who's someone who has been an advocate for Karmelo Anthony. I think as of right now, it's foggy what his actual connection is. But this individual is now selling merchandise on top of the Give Send Go funding. And you can see there he has a picture with that t-shirt there. Now, I had one earlier, but maybe I don't have it anymore. But there is a photo of him wearing one of these merchandise shirts with Karmelo Anthony. So it's been in the works for at least a few days, which I think is obviously a little slimy, to say the least, to start selling merchandise about this.
I mean, you're selling merchandise to support, somebody that I think is safe to say is a murderer. Somebody that, okay, if he's not a murderer, which I believe in Texas, he's going to get first degree charges. Somebody that, admitted to the cop, according to the police report, that he killed somebody. So let's go make a shirt and make money off of it. Exactly. And the crazy part about it is, the money is not for the victim. They're actually changing this whole narrative that Karmelo Anthony is the victim here.
Right.
That's just a world that I don't want to live in.
Well, Chris even highlighted in our Discord that there's a minister who quoted one of the photos of Karmelo Anthony and Dominique Alexander, and he said a lot of hoopla and yada yada, a lot of yapping over here, but at the bottom was hashtag justice for Karmelo Anthony. So they're outright denying the whole mainstream narrative, and they're saying, like what you had said, that he's actually the victim here, and that he needs justice for this white supremacist narrative that he wasn't allowed to defend himself. And so it's clear people are living in like two entirely different like realities on this. And the next one from Sarah Fields, which is underneath that one on the outline, Sarah Fields is another like reporter. She's like Sarah is censored. I don't know if you would go with reporter or commentator. I don't know too much about her, but she is an Army veteran. But she highlights more. And so if you can see there, pictured in that image of that quoted tweet, that is Dominique Alexander. That is the person who keeps being seen with Karmelo Anthony here. Same when we watched that video yesterday of him being released. That was the individual in the blue tuxedo who was like guiding him and holding his hand, protecting him from the reporters as they were walking through there. I think it's still unclear a little bit what his direct kind of relationship is. Now he says cousin, but obviously in the Black community that literally means like friend and a bunch of different things, kind of like a jargon there. But I thought there's one post from John Doyle makes a great point, and that's actually the next one underneath there. Underneath Sarah Fields. Now, John Doyle is a conservative pundit. I think many people are probably familiar with him in this space. Obviously, he's one of the younger guys. He runs
is this the right one? That's a 9mm SMG.
No, above that one, it's the one with the soy jack picture there.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I skipped over it.
And John Doyle, he runs and operates a show. I believe it's called Heck Off Commie. I'm not sure how often he runs it, but he is like a major, conservative pundit, growing one, I would add. Now, he make a good point here too, which is talking about that this change of the narrative here, which, in the quotes there, it says his family actually owned the Escalade before. And then it says, oh, and then they say, what do you have to say about that? And then he responds, killing despite coming from wealth. I was more correct than I anticipated. And what he's highlighting there is, again, this kind of myth that it's socioeconomic factors is what lends itself to Black individuals, especially young Black youth, committing crimes at a higher rate than other races. But if you hold socioeconomics even as a variable among the races, there is still a increase. There is still a disparity of Black youth committing more violent crimes, which I think speaks again to there just being an overall issue with Black culture and the stuff that they consume that inevitably leads to violent acts like this taking place more often than not. Now, the next one there from 9mm SMG, because he quotes this one here too, which is a kind of another take here as well, which I think exemplifies the two different realities that people are living in here, which is, this is a picture from his grandmother with Karmelo Anthony, and 9mm SMG likens it to, it's like a senior graduation photo is what this the feeling was. If you didn't know what the story behind this photo was, you would think that this kid just graduated high school. And that goes to show there is like a kind of sick celebration that is happening. And I think it does go to like the deeply rooted tribalism that does exist among the races. And I think obviously it's just a natural tribalism that exists among the races. I liken it to what you see in the most primal forms of prison. People don't separate based on whether the right wing or left wing. People separate based on race. It's one of the most primal kind of dialects I think people operate by, or perspectives, paradigms. And I think the overall thing is it's just continually getting more and more sickening. And again, I think one of the best quotes, and I think I quoted it a couple of episodes ago, but from Tommy Sotomayor, which is, he was talking with Tommy Lauren on Tommy Lauren is Fearless is what her show name is called. But he was talking about how he actually genuinely fears the most out of everything from this whole situation is that when he saw the immediate kind of reaction from the Black community, his fear was that the way that they're treating it is opening up itself for other young Black males who may be like not the most popular or don't get the most attention or maybe just kind of down on their luck. They see this kind of example being set and they go, well, hey, look, like I can be cherished and celebrated and be popular and get respect inside my community if I have a big strike against the big bad white man. And that's what he was kind of fearing, which is like the precedent this sets. If that community doesn't police itself and say, hey, we shouldn't protect murderers, we should look at this outside a racial lens, don't do that. It opens the door for other young Black men to say, you know what, like it makes it that much easier for the next time when a white kid says, hey, can you like leave our tent? They go, now's my shot. Now it's my chance to get celebrated like this. And especially when you see like with the Give Send Go just racking up money.
$500,000 almost.
Right. I think it's like 415,000. Now that leads me to the very last one, which if you actually scroll all the way down to the bottom, which I put Stopping White Supremacy, which you can play this Collinn Rugg one here in a second because it has Dominic Alexander. But on the outline, it'll be underneath the CJ Pearson reaction.
Gotcha. Is it not the CJ Pearson reaction, the one from Benny?
The one underneath it, yeah.
Gotcha.
It's from Benny Johnson. And this is two other ones that's separate from the one that Viva Fry had posted. And there are a load of comments, if you actually go through and read the comments on the Give Send Go for Karmelo Anthony, that are extremely sickening. The one that Viva Fry had posted was and I'll paraphrase, but it was basically a comment that said, you know, if this had happened to me when I was Karmelo Anthony's age, I would have had to have just left the tent. And he said, like, God bless this young man, as if it was a way of like, again, like congratulating Karmelo for what he did. Then like almost kind of like it was like a Rosa Parks moment, right? It's like, wow, look at she stepped up to this racist. And then similar with these two here from Benny Johnson, you know, he writes, people are donating to Karmelo Anthony because he's stopping white supremacy. And he says, think I'm lying, read for yourself. And there's two different ones, one $100 donation, but the other $5. But I think the one on the left, that's the bigger donation, is the one that's more eye-opening. But it writes, nothing, just donating again. The more these hateful whites show their insecurities and fragilities of losing dominance, sending love, light, and justice to King Karmelo, speaking full exoneration over your name.
Yeah.
These are the kind of things that I think were otherwise maybe
$100
and $100, and that's maybe the second or third donation from that person, that individual. And we talked earlier too about, obviously like the racial component
36 likes too, it looks like.
of this story. I think there's really no getting away from it. Especially when it's reaching like extreme kind of radical levels like this, where you're seeing the public, especially one community specifically acting one way. It's like you can't ignore it anymore. It's like there is clearly a large outcry from this community that is celebrating that this took place on
Mhm.
no other grounds other than the fact that that guy looks like me. I'll take his side. And I mean, that's just a terrifying road to go down. I think, this is, obviously
Well,
not like
folks need
race
to be
war, but it seems that way.
well, yeah, I was gonna say folks need to be careful with that type of rhetoric because nobody wants that, right? And just be real, talking numbers here, we know who wins. So it's just stupid.
Right. Right. And, I just,
I hate to say it like that, not trying to stoke flames. I really hate this story because they really want to use it to drive this racial wedge. But
right.
it's important. It's important to understand other people, and so that's why we have to talk about it. And you see this person give $100. I'll reiterate. I'll read again. Nothing, just donating again. So this isn't their first $100 apparently.
Right.
The more these hateful whites show their insecurities and fragilities of losing dominance, sending love, light, justice to King Karmelo, speaking full exoneration over your name with 36 likes. And then this one, it's only $5. It's $5 too many, but thank you for stopping the white supremacist bullies with 15 likes.
Right. Right. And this is kind of, and this is why I wanted to approach the story this way, which was be objective as possible from what I'm seeing, even as somebody who, and still to this day, I do promote and I do hold the ideals of like race realism. I think these are things that we can't ignore. But ultimately, when I'm looking at this in the macro, I do hearken back to like the differences between MLK and Malcolm X. Right. And like I think that, and I had said this to Worrell earlier too, which I think there's more than just two solutions on the table, right? Which is right now we're basically kind of treating it as if like we either have a full-blown race war and one race is subjugated to the other, or we are all in this extreme raging melting pot racing to multiculturalism and seeing which race can go extinct the first while we all race to being olive colored and looking like Neanderthals, when those 2,000-year generative photos showed what we'd look like and like down the line. Or is there still a reality in which Malcolm X and his ideas would reign true, which Tick says, right, separation and segregation, and a way that doesn't entirely separate everybody apart from each other, but a way that better recognizes our differences and then can keep a much more appropriate and professional relationship between the groups, which I think the more that we try to do this and force this, the more we are kind of looking down the barrel of a reality of which we cannot force multiculturalism because we keep getting all of these extremely negative consequences, which is it's just not happening. And you look at, and I think most people can even agree with this, when you look at the younger generations with Gen Z and you see how the young people talk, like it's clear like they do not care about how boomers want to force this multiculturalism stuff. Like they are way past the ideal of caring. And the way I kind of look at it too is you have a younger generation who's grown up entirely in a world where they've grown up during an era of like black privilege while being told you have white privilege, and nothing of the rhetoric that they've heard surrounding this great oppression of black individuals have they ever seen in their lives. Like they don't, when they go to the store, they witness institution after teachers, after parents, after churches, after communities bend over backwards to give black community the benefit of the doubt. But they have all these other situations happen to them on a personal level that doesn't match. Like the rhetoric doesn't match. It's like their lived experience, right? Their realities don't match with what they see coming down the mainstream pipeline. So you could reach a point where you can't lie to somebody for so long, or at least, half truth somebody until eventually they just quit caring because they're like, hey man, like I get you say all this stuff about here, bro, but like when I try to go home at night, I still got to avoid the south side because X, Y, and Z. Or hey man, like I saw, like I did this and I got in trouble for this, but when this dude did it, the exact same thing, he didn't get any trouble at all. And so all of these things compile over time where you do get a younger generation that says, yeah, you guys just lied, and it actually pushes them in the opposite direction, where they're inclined to think like actually it's the complete opposite of what everyone's saying. And it is, and there is a reality in like one race might be better than the other. And so you force this kind of hatred, well, because you refuse to be honest about the actual realities. And I think there are realities that do need to be reckoned, which is like the increasing violence. One, there is a very extreme emphasis on degeneracy among one culture. Doesn't mean white people are exempt from being degenerates themselves, but I think when you look at things that are typically described as black culture, which would be like black movies or black media or black music, all kind of have a through line, which is an increased emphasis on degeneracy. And then you look at things like the fact that, what was her name? Sexy Red, right? The rapper who's extremely super degenerate. Turns out she's like a female CIA agent, and she's like been put there. And so there's obviously other explanations that led itself to why this community got degraded at a certain point. And same with not like it's one community is unique, because obviously with the heroin epidemic that that destroyed white communities and places like Kentucky and such. But the longer that people pretend like there's no issue and that everyone's interchangeable and that no every group's all the same, the more people will just look at you as a liar and unwilling to address the elephant in the room, or as some reporters have been putting it, the 500-pound gorilla in the room. And I think, some truths have to be reckoned with, or otherwise you're going to get an extremely negative consequence that you were actively, the one that you're trying to avoid the most will become the most probable, because you keep trying to force things that they're just not true.
Right. And so, to be honest with you, there's nothing I'd rather more. Not say nothing, but you get one. It's an expression, right? Then for this story to just go away. This is not what I signed up to talk about. I didn't sign up, but you know what I'm saying? I want to talk about, Trump deportations. And of course, we could, but this is valid, and it's one of those distractions. And I'm not saying that the Trump administration is floating this out there to keep us distracted or anything like that. But that's the battle we fight in this culture war, is to try to stay unified as an American community and make sure that we're still focused on who the real enemies are, and not be focused on stories like this for weeks on end, right? People are still obsessed with the Luigi Mangione story. And I mean, I think Taylor Lorenz did a Netflix documentary on it or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, they just it's one of those things where it's like, gotta try to keep our eye on the ball and not be distracted by these stories too much. It's important to know. It's important to know about these things. You kind of put it in the back of your mind. And of course, we want justice for the real victim in this family, the kid that was stabbed in the heart. But which I haven't seen any reports on any fundraising for that family. Have you guys? Let me know in chat. Have you guys seen any type of fundraising for Austin Metcalf? I know they had his funeral the other day, but like, the story is the gifts and go, and what's going on with the aggressor in this story. And it literally has created a racial wedge, and it's very reminiscent of the BLM Summer of Love, potentially. I know they're trying to use this story as a catalyst to launch into civil unrest this year. And I just I don't want to see us I don't want to see that happen. I want to see us locked and loaded, talking about the most important things, the mandate that we elected Trump to accomplish, and this is something that And like I said, I wish this story would just go away, but it's not. It'll be around, and we'll be talking about it, unfortunately. But
Right. Well, I agree in the sense that I wish it wasn't a problem,
right.
but I also look at the UK and see what they did when they ignored it.
No, that's true. It's valid. It's valid. It's worth still talking about it. If it wasn't, I would have just said, "No, this story's stupid. Let's not even talk about it in the get go." I just wish we didn't have to. We have to talk about this because it's very relevant. I just
Right.
wish we didn't. I wish we could stay focused on the mission. And this wasn't part of the mission. This is a side mission. If you're a gamer, you know what I mean?
Right. Well, I mean, in what the UK now whites who are charged with the same crime will get enhanced sentences compared to people of color. It's like now the new standard there in the UK. I mean, and then that's the reality, right? It's like that's what happens when you let. I mean, unfortunately, when you try to ignore the whole anti-white rhetoric and then just hope and pretend that it's just going to magically go away and people will understand. I just think that's ultimately like that's just not how things happen.
Right.
Especially when there are obviously agendas and clearly evil does exist. It's going to just be, it is always going to try to perpetuate itself in some form. And as much as I agree with it, I wish we didn't have to talk about this story. I think that's part of the issue too, is like the longer that this doesn't have and full enter into the mainstream conversation, the longer that these things kind of just keep happening. And you're going to just see waves of comments just ripping the hard R, because it's just like, I mean, people are just so fed up with it. And it's like they're not getting an answer. Right. And I think that's how most people feel when they see another story like this. It's like, what is the answer then? It's like it's clear that nothing we have tried has worked. We do not have a solution on the table. And that's why I'm increasingly pushed to the position of the nonviolent pursuit of going to things like separation. And maybe we pull back and we say, hey, Martin Luther King Jr. was an FBI agent, wasn't a good guy. I think a lot of the stuff that he said was kind of forced on him. Maybe we look at like the other guy who was trying to go offer solutions too. And we look at Malcolm X. Maybe we follow some of his projects and see how maybe that works out. But ultimately, I just think the path that we're on, it's just going to keep getting worse if we don't make a strong change.
Yeah, definitely. JB asked, or says, people of color, who came up with that BS? We're all colors, even white. The people that came up with that are probably the people that came up with the phrase African American. You know what I mean? I've seen a lot of black people in this country say, "Look, I'm not African American. I'm American. I'm a black person that lives in America. Like I'm nothing African." It's funny.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's like
European
it's like
American.
I picture a white liberal lady saying, "What can we come up with that sounds nicer than just using the regular definition that everybody can understand? Just extra, just so extra, and we'll make sure that everybody else has to use the same thing. Otherwise, they're racist."
Yeah.
Chris, you're dipping out. Good night, man. Appreciate you for stopping in and all that stuff.
Yeah, good night, brother. I was just thinking of that famous. I think it was just a skit, but it was like the 911 call where the operator's like, "Okay," I'm like, "What was the description?" And he's like, "Well, he was like a dark white," and the operator's like, "Dark white? Like, can you clarify?" And
he's wearing a red hoodie. He's wearing a red hoodie.
Yeah. By the end of the call, the guy's like, "Is it?" He's black, okay? Is that what you wanted me to say the whole time? He's black. The operator's like, "Thank you." They're just trying to get a description out of the guy. And it's like, yeah, there's such a stigma about it.
Right. Well, everybody's so afraid of being called a racist. It keeps people in check, and it's really a valuable weapon in this, cultural battle that we see what's going on, with like the support and the comments we're reading on the GoFundMe here, or the Give Send Go, I should say.
Right.
I wanted to. Tix Bomber says, "Unless you're me," he said, "Unless you're me, I'm 2 shades darker than clear, practically glow in the dark." I'm guessing Tix Bomber probably grew up with names like Casper or Powder. I had a friend like that, one of my best friends. He couldn't escape how white he was. He is.
Yeah, right.
Everybody on the baseball team called him Powder. It's
Yeah,
pretty
that's
funny.
our good friend over there. We call him Miracle Whip.
It's really funny.
But I mean, that's in short, in essence, like I guess the update with the Carmelo Anthony story.
Yeah.
Just that it's conflicting. Rather disappointed in a lot of the conservative pundits, but again, like I think so many of these people are just partisan hacks at this point. Like I cannot explain to you how much respect I've lost from Benny Johnson in the last like 6 months.
Yeah.
Like he is getting aggressively clickbaity. He's getting, and I think there was even a segment where he was on Piers Morgan not too long ago. Like he couldn't even like argue well. I'm just like, dude, this guy just got really no redeeming features. And I'm even like aggressive on other aspects too. Like I think it's great that you obviously are like proud to be a father and all this, but some of the videos he's posting is like, bro, that's so gay. Like it's really gay. You don't have to post every time you took a walk with your daughter. It's like we all do it too, man. And like I don't think like it's like was the effect like some single guy like sees Benny Johnson walking with his daughter and he's like I need to go get married now. It's like you did it in a way that made it so gay. Like you made a man feel like if he did what you did, he'd be called homosexual. like that's not what we need to be doing to promote things, right?
Yeah.
It's such like cringeworthy and such. But I'm more so just disappointed in just how bad of a show that he is. Like I think he has got.
Well, the thing is, he's really talented. He's got a brain that just seems like it goes 90 miles an hour, and he's got a the skill where he can just turn an article into an 8-minute, 15-minute video or whatever. And
right.
He's gotten so big that now he's got sources in the White House and Trump lawyer coming on his show and everything, right? And it's all good, but I don't know. It's just like I said, my thing it started with Benny was I noticed that he rode Tucker Carlson's coattails when he was still at Fox. I mean, everything Benny posted was talking about Tucker this, Tucker that. Tucker went away, and I said, "Oh, Benny's going to have a hard time." I remember telling my wife, "He's going to have a hard time losing his, his main squeeze over there." And he did all right. He pivoted. He did all right. But then he stole the salty cracker, salt army stuff. And it's just like, bro, everybody that watches you knows who Salty Cracker is. Maybe not everybody, but like we all see it, and you're making us turn a blind eye to this nonsense. And of course, Salty took the high road, which is funny, because he's quick to just say fuck off and whatever. But I don't know. It was just weird. It rubbed me the wrong way, especially the way that Salty Cracker took it. It's just not that I wanted him to fight, but it's just like he recognized that if Benny wants it, he can have it. No big deal, no harm, no foul. But I just thought it was bad for him. If you're a fan of Hook, it was bad for him.
It always is. I mean, I wholeheartedly agree with House on this. I think the majority of Con Inc. is just they're there because they were put there. I think the same thing with Benny Johnson, right? Like it's like audience capture like that, and it's basically how can we captivate the audience of all these edgy individuals to gatekeep them out of the movement, right? Which is like if someone was watching Benny, I mean, even just compare Salty Cracker, who I think is somewhat edgy because he's just like he makes kind of like vulgar jokes all the time, but he's clearly like a step more edgy than Benny Johnson. So Benny Johnson can take half of what makes you popular with like your reads and your other kind of audience like click moments and that's what they do, right? Same thing with like with Tim Pool and like I think a lot of these other pundits, they are literally just there to be like the main faces so that all the people who are a bit more edgier than them just simply don't exist. And I think like it's even noticeable with like the other people who've like kind of fallen out of favor. Like I think Steven Crowder is an example of that. I think somewhere along the lines, like I don't think Crowder is entirely Con Inc., but I don't think he's also like fully independent either. I think he's still beholden to some things, but I think you can see it just in like the way his content and the ease of flipping over to Rumble. I'm not entirely.
Well, the thing about it is he marketed the shit out of flipping over to Rumble, but he still posts videos on YouTube. So it wasn't really like his principled a position as they would want you to see it as or whatever, as they want to project it. It was like, well, that's great, but I didn't expect. Like I was like, oh, this is cool. The Rumble lineup, Crowder. I think this is dope. What they're trying to do over there. And then like 3 days later, I saw Crowder posted a video on YouTube, and I'm like, man, you just can't quit YouTube. No matter you act like you hate it, but you just can't quit it, can you? And
Right.
you know, I get
I
it's a
think you do it,
business.
but,
They're running businesses. They have a lot of people to pay on their payroll and things like that to keep up with. But it's things I noticed, you know, things I noticed. And I like
Right.
Crowder. I really like Crowder. I've been a Mug Club or whatever. Signed up for Mug Club a few years ago. So I mean, that's one of the ones I still keep.
I think it's the same kind of deal with Rogan, right? It's like all the live and first dibs content goes to like Rumble now,
Yeah.
but you'll still get the majority of content will still find its way on YouTube, like in clipped forms, probably,
Yeah.
and just maybe not like the full live streams that'll probably only be getting hosted on Rumble.
Right. Just don't make a spectacle about your leaving YouTube and then post a video on YouTube a couple of days later or a week later or something. I get
Right.
it's not your live show, but like, do you need them or do you not need them? I thought that was kind of the whole message you were sending is we're moving on. Rumble is better now.
Right. Right. Exactly.
Welcome back.
Yeah. But the one of the last stories I wanted to touch on before, because I have to take off in a couple minutes,
Okay.
was the story that I wanted to look into a little bit the last show, but I didn't get a chance to, but I did get a chance to look into it a lot more. Now there's a whole like 9-minute video here that you can definitely play. It's like it's a news coverage from the Vigilant Fox.
Mhm.
Or he clips somebody else. But in short, before you play that video, which you can probably play it once I take off, the story's a little bit older, so it's from March. But in essence, there were 5 kids in Massachusetts, and so I think they listed the mother and the 5 kids as missing or as being kidnapped. And what it was from and what it stemmed from was the father, either the father or both the father and the mother, declined to give their 9-month-old boy a vaccine. Which vaccine it was, I was unable to identify, but they did not give their 9-month-old a vaccine, to which the pediatrician had threatened them, saying that he has to mandatorily report these things. And so once they decided not to vaccinate, he went ahead and reported. He filed, it was called a 551A child neglect report. And so then recently following that on February 26th, that the Department of Children and Families ended up claiming custody over the 5 children. This led to a house visit to which the parents refused. And then later, their apartment was surrounded by police, prompting them to then flee. They then fled to Texas, where they were inevitably found. I think it was 8 or 9 days later. And it was because they were tracked by a credit card charge because they were trying to buy a formula. Now, I believe even as it sits right now, I think the father is still being held in jail over like a 20K bond or something like that. I think the mother is out now. But this case is like ongoing still. But it's just a scary precedent, right? Which is they basically said because the parents didn't want to vaccinate their kids, they deemed that the father must have some kind of mental issue for not wanting to vaccinate his kids. And so on those grounds is what they argued then, that the children would not be in a safe place. But as it said in the report, that when they were found in Texas, that they were found in good health with no neglect or harm found. And despite that, the DCF still mandated that there were supervised visits for the mother. I don't think the father has been allowed to come back into contact with the children. So it's just a scary story. Something I thought we would have been way past, but apparently not. But this video details in a little bit fuller detail of what this basically what the story is. But with that though, I do have to take off, everybody. So I do appreciate everybody for being here. And Christ is King as always. Deport Cash Patel, Fire Pam Bondi. And I just hope honestly we can start moving in the right direction. And I think overall the rhetoric we're seeing from a lot of these news stories is kind of scary. I think even Worrell saw a similar post that what I did, which is it looks like the way that the white community is reacting very differently than the last time, like with the previous kind of George Floyd story. This summer could potentially get extremely explosive. we're going to be, you know, we're approaching that same kind of routine 4-year cycled public outlet of, you know, anger into the public by destroying things and destroying property. And then you pair that with the racial tensions that are going to be attached to it as well, too, outside of just a presidency change. Just stay safe to everybody out there. You know, good luck trying to just live your life as much as you can. And one other story too, I would mention people look into, because I don't know if we'll get to it. But there was another story, a young couple trying to have children. I think they were recently married. They unfortunately had a stillborn baby. The baby passed away. They were mourning the baby. Now, I don't know if they were on the way to the funeral or if they were on their way back from the funeral, but the married couple was at a bus stop. And while they were at the bus stop, again, black individual approached them with a hatchet, struck the husband in the neck. He's now in critical condition, suffering. I think he's already been deemed that he has brain damage as well. But I've been seeing this story now getting highlighted by the Quartering Lives of TikTok, Tim Pool. And again, another one that's going to be on racialized lines, and just a sad story. So I guess just pray out to that family, because I can't imagine what the wife is going through. Obviously, the trauma of losing your baby that you're probably super excited about, and then having that's devastating. And then in the same, and not even like you can't even take 2 breaths later, now your husband nearly got decapitated. He may never be the same person again. Now you have be trying to build a life with somebody who like maybe brain dead. It's just an unfortunate situation. And these are the kind of things that when they're not covered and the way that they happen, this is what it leads to, these kind of racialized tensions, kind of like how I said to Whirl. There's probably no ever telling this woman to like not feel a certain way about black people again when someone almost takes your husband from you. These are the kind of things that really drive a lot of these personal experiences, that drive a lot of these kind of tensions. And again, just prayers up to these people, prayers up that suffering as a whole kind of simmers down. Because at the end of the day, the main thing is obviously, you know, we want to be pointing people towards Jesus Christ. We want to be living lives that are a lot more good and holy, and we want to get away from a lot of this violent stuff. But ultimately, that's just the reality of the world we live in. But with that, thank you, everybody. And you guys have a good rest of your night. I will see you on Saturday.
Yeah, man. Well said, brother. Check out on Saturday. And of course, we'll be in touch on the Discord and everything like that before then.
Yes, sir. Peace out, man. I will see you guys soon.
Yep. Have a good night. All right. So we're going to go a little bit longer here. This story here, post from the Vigilant, same thing. A Massachusetts couple is being charged with kidnapping their own children. I guess you read that right. And we'll just play this clip. We'll play the clip.
We have a shocking.
It's 9 minutes long. I don't know if we'll play the whole thing, but let's get into it. I haven't heard a whole lot about this story, so we're gonna kind of discover together, right?
Now, we have a shocking story for you today, and you are going to be truly gobsmacked when you learn the reason why this Massachusetts couple is being accused of kidnapping their own 5 children from state custody. So the background here is this Massachusetts couple is facing serious charges after allegedly kidnapping their 5 children who'd been placed in the custody of the Massachusetts Department of Children and Families, or DCF. Isael Rivera, 31, and Ruth Encarnacion, 30, were located by Fitchburg police in early March after a multi-state manhunt. The couple is accused of taking the children across state lines in an attempt to evade DCF intervention. Authorities believe the family fled Massachusetts shortly before the state attempted to enforce child protective measures, according to WCVB 5. Rivera, the biological father of 4 of the 5 children, was arraigned last week in Fitchburg District Court. A not guilty plea was entered on his behalf, and he's currently being held without bail. We also have Encarnacion, the mother of all 5 children. She's scheduled to be arraigned this week and faces 5 counts of kidnapping a minor by a relative. A not guilty plea has also been entered on her behalf. According to law enforcement, the family went missing just as DCF prepared.
Actually, I'm curious what the rest of that said. According to law enforcement, the family went missing just as DCF prepared to remove the children from Encarnacion's care on February 27th. Encarnacion's sister reported her missing days later on March 3rd, citing a lack of contact since February 26th. DCF officially reported the 5 children missing on March 5th, triggering a state and federal search. Okay, sorry, I just wanted to read the rest of that little snippet.
Plea has also been entered on her behalf. According to law enforcement, the family went missing just as DCF prepared to remove the children from Encarnacion's care on February 27th. Encarnacion's sister reported her missing days later on March 3rd, citing a lack of contact since February 26. DCF officially reported the 5 children missing on March 5, triggering a state and federal search. Court documents indicate that DCF had opened a case against the couple in February after a pediatrician flagged signs of neglect involving the youngest child, a 9-month-old. Now, you're hearing this story and thinking, what on earth did these parents do? What kind of neglect would spark a multi-state manhunt of this nature? Well, it's actually what they didn't do. It appears what these parents are guilty of is sincerely held religious beliefs against vaccination. Boston Broadside reported the parents who homeschool their children stated to their pediatrician that they were opposed to their new baby receiving the shots based on their sincerely held religious beliefs. Despite citing religious exemptions, which are law in Massachusetts, the father, Israel Rivera, is being held in Worcester County Jail on a $200,000 bond or $20K cash bail, while the couple's 5 children have reportedly been taken into custody by CPS. Quote, this is a blatant violation of fundamental rights on multiple levels, says Ron Bouchard, constitutional law strategist. By what authority has this family been apprehended and for what? Was there a warrant? Was it familial kidnapping? A family has the right to travel with their children. How and why have they been reported missing and by whom? What laws have they broken and what imminent danger exists to justify this drastic action of DCF and the Fitchburg Police Department traumatizing this family by tearing it apart, end quote. The ordeal began when the family's pediatrician, a mandatory reporter, threatened to report them to DCF after the parents declined vaccinations for their infant during a wellness check. The doctor said if we didn't vaccinate, he'd have to report us, the father, Izzy Rivera, allegedly told an advocate who provided safe harbor for the family in Texas. Despite assurances that their baby was well fed, cared for, and thriving, DCF soon left a notice on their door demanding a home visit.
What a scumbag doctor. I mean, I just thinking about Earl's daughter, what she was saying earlier about her son. Man, just make sure you guys have good doctors, especially for your young ones. Goodness.
Fearing for their family, the parents refused, citing their rights. But what followed was a dramatic escalation. Fitchburg police, at the direction of Leo Minster DCF, allegedly surrounded their apartment, banging on doors and circling the property for up to 30 minutes. Ruth Encarnacion hid in the closet with her 5 children, said the Good Samaritan who assisted the family over their 3-week exile. According to her account of what the family told her, with police and DCF returning in greater numbers the next day, Rivera was also forced to hide while his wife and children fled from Fitchburg. So if you're finding yourself horrified by this report, you should be. Vaccinations are not mandatory in Massachusetts and should not be anywhere, whether you're citing a religious exemption or not. It should be a personal decision for you and your family to partake in a vaccine schedule or not. We find ourselves yet again going back to the argument during COVID. If you're protected, it shouldn't matter if I'm injected or not. But this is the problem. We're still seeing egregious examples of medical tyranny in the United States today in 2025 with RFK Jr. as the head of the HHS. We should note the children ages 10, 9, 5, 4, and 9 months were eventually found unharmed in Whitney, Texas, and are now in the custody of Texas Child Protective Services pending further investigation. That's it. That's the outcome. Perfectly healthy children in a loving household whose parents feel they are protecting them, being told by the religion of the medical establishment that because they practice a different religion, one that doesn't want to inject aborted fetal cells, insects, and lab-created gene therapies into their children at the detriment of their faith, they don't get to keep their children. Sadly, this is not a one-off scenario. We have continued to hear about stories just like this, and many go on that we'll never hear about. With the focus currently on things like food dyes, additives, and fluoride, which are important, It's been lost in the midst of families losing their children based on a vaccine schedule being imposed upon them, with a mountain of evidence for years now that it comes with serious risk. When will we see action on this?
Okay, so I think she's just gonna basically kind of rant uh off topic a little bit, on topic, but off the story, right? Jay mentioned here that not just the doctors, the hospital my doctor went to locked my daughter's medical records when she turned 13, only released with my daughter's permission, which is crazy. You know, knowing what they're willing to do to youngsters nowadays with their whole trans agenda. That's pretty wild. It's like, excuse me, doctor. You know that as long as she's living under my roof, she has to do what I say, right? It's like, thanks for helping me parent. Just crazy. That's insane. How can you it's like I got her on my health insurance till she's 25. Like, sorry, dude, you gotta tell me. Oh man, that's just so wild. It's so wild. Just me says phone is about to die. Gotta switch to TV. Yeah, it's a little harder to type on the TV, that's for sure. Yeah, have a good night, just me. Christ is king. But you're still gonna watch on TV, so we'll keep you in our hearts, in our minds. Let's see here. We're totally not the Gestapo guys. That innocent family had it coming, right? Six Bomber says I accidentally bought a smartass TV. What does it talk back? You push the little button, you're like, hey, play Real Housewives of Atlanta, and it's like, fuck you, you don't want to watch that shit. It'll rot your brain. Let's see. So, yeah, this is crazy. Medical tyranny. And I think that it's funny that it was important that she mentioned, you know, this is while RFK Jr. is the head of the HHS. Kind of to my point earlier, it's like, bro, you realize you got the job now. You can start doing stuff. You don't have to campaign anymore. Like, just start doing the stuff, and Trump will sign off on it, man. Look at Doge. Look at everything else. Like, let's get it going. Jamie says, still got to bring the TV over here. I thought you moved everything. So you still have stuff in the house? Are you not selling the house, Jamie? Or I don't know. Is that too personal? I'm just curious. I thought you had everything moved over into your apartment. I think TV would be the first thing I would hook up. I have no furniture, but the TV would be gone. The TV would be up and hooked up. Eva Elmo says, I have a smart TV, dumbass owner, but a smart TV. Yeah, all the smart TVs nowadays, by the way, you know, I don't know if this is true, but the word is that every little appliance with a Bluetooth is essentially made in China, is stealing our information. I've been seeing a lot from what's his name lately, talking about China with the tariffs, and it's been great. He's the rich dude. Oh, I can't think of his name right now. Dang it. Business tycoon, does a lot of business in New York. What's his name? I can't remember. I was thinking about doing a segment here on the show. Maybe we'll do it on Saturday of just him on his. He's been doing a ton of interviews talking about. He was saying that he wanted to put 400, or that Trump should put 400% tariffs on China like immediately the other day. Talking about how they steal our intellectual property and develop it and sell it back to us and everything. Darn it! I can't believe I lost that guy's name. We'll see here. Jamie said we are realtors. Came today. One on Friday. Oh, I see. I forgot this. Yeah. Let me know, Jamie. I've been kind of in the dark the last couple of days as far as being on the Discord. Yeah, he's on Shark Tank. Kevin O'Leary. Thank you. That's what it was. All I needed was the Shark Tank thing. Kevin O'Leary. Thank you, House. Yeah, dude's been crushing it lately. Jamie brought over the gaming consoles, but you didn't have a TV to play it on. Or you said that was just the other TV. The big TV. I'm a Rocket League guy myself when it comes to gaming. I'm not very good at it, but I like to play. Race car soccer. Who'd have thought? Who'd have thought it'd be that fun? But Atlas did mention that a man got chopped in the neck at a bus station, to sum it up. And okay, the big TV's coming over tomorrow. Cool. Well, it's nice to see you settling in the new apartment and everything, Jamie. You have to get help getting it upstairs. Oh yeah, I forgot. You said you're living on the top. Or is it the top floor? I know you said you had stairs. Let's see here. Let me move this one over. Okay, so this one is Into the Memory Hole. It's posted by Into the Memory Hole, and it says stillborn baby. Black randomly walks up and slashes your grieving husband's neck with an axe for no reason. Walks away. Husband now severely brain damaged and on life support. Let's see here.
I'm Pat Paris, a Tucson man being held on a
Well, that's as loud as that goes, so I guess we'll not play that because I could barely hear it, and I know you guys can't hear it if I can barely hear it. But you see, this is the guy right here. That's the criminal. Here's the family, husband and wife. Okay, let's see here. Let's look up some more stuff. Okay, so this says the suspect told investigators he'd been heavily drinking and thought Jacob was using drugs. Michael said he struck Jacob after seeing him reach into his pocket. They're even openly mocking you over it. He's going to parrot what police often say when encountering these creatures, like it's some kind of retribution. Creatures. Oh, he's talking to somebody that deleted their comment. That's funny. Libs of TikTok posted and said, meet Daniel Michael, who was arrested in Tucson, Arizona after he allegedly struck Jacob Couch in the neck with a hatchet while he was sitting at a bus stop with his wife. Will MSM cover this story? Probably not. It doesn't fit their narrative. And you never know. I mean, if they see that it might be a means to the end, which is continue the race war, maybe mainstream media will cover this. I don't know. We'll have to see. But so far, not so much. This was posted yesterday at 3 a.m. in the morning. So this is a story. You know, this story has been over a day or two old, and this actually has 2.8 million views. So people are definitely interested in hearing and seeing it. But yeah, that's it's pretty wild. And on the heels of the Karmelo Anthony stabbing, we see this kind of narrative repeat itself once again. It's crazy. Let's see here. What am I missing? What am I missing? Yeah, you're on the third floor. You're taking multiple trips up the stairs to bring shit upstairs. Your knees hate you. Yeah, but I bet your legs are getting a little muscular, right? Doing all them stairs. It's good cardio. Yeah, JB, if you're gonna ask me, do it right. Tick says you can tell that dude is messed in the head. Gives off I'm mentally unstable. Yeah, he reminds me. The look of this dude reminds me of the like the 6 foot 200-pound kid that attacked the student or the teacher over when she took away his Game Boy a couple years back. Kind of looks the same. The quartering posted on this too. Sorry, I don't know a whole lot about this story. I'm kind of discovering as we're going along here, so I haven't really given it much thought. Quartering said he has started to give Singo to help the victim, the actual victim of this story. So yeah. Yep. And then today, I did notice. I'm going to go off script a little bit, but the switch gears a little bit. The DOJ investigates New York AG Letitia James over mortgage fraud allegations. Now, this one is crazy to me because if I'm correct, and I'm like 99% sure that Sling Blade vibe, yeah, for real ticks. Didn't Letitia James, wasn't she the one that was heading up the investigation into Donald Trump inflating the value of Mar-a-Lago when getting a loan? And they tried to throw Trump for in jail for some type of real estate fraud or whatever it was when he literally had done like 20 transactions with the bank before, the same bank, and paid them all back on time. And they even came out and said that it doesn't matter what value he assessed. They were going to give him the loan anyways because he had paid everything back on time and in full in the past. It was a working relationship that they went off of, the track record. But now, ironically, Letitia James is caught up in mortgage fraud allegations. So once again, the Democrats accuse their enemies of the very thing they themselves are doing. It's so crazy because on one hand, they're admitting that they know it's wrong because they're saying you're wrong for doing this, right? But then they're doing it themselves. It's fucking topsy-turvy land, right? But the U.S. Federal Housing Finance Agency has referred New York Attorney General Letitia James to the Department of Justice for investigation over allegations of mortgage fraud. The accusations involve falsifying records to meet lending requirements, specifically claiming a Virginia property as her principal residence and misinterpreting the number of units in a New York property. Both the DOJ and James have not provided public comments on the referral, while the implications of these allegations are significant given James's role in prosecuting similar charges against others, which I just explained was Donald Trump in their attempt to try to keep him off the ballot, right? Because the orange man is bad. See here. Somebody said, okay. Is this script? Okay, I thought you were saying my mom was here. That's pretty funny. Okay, so anyways, apparently the New York Attorney General Letitia James is absolutely losing her mind after she was referred to the DOJ for alleged mortgage fraud. So she is actually speaking out. Let's hear what she has to say.
My mission is clear. I'm focused. I'm prepared. I'm ready. I've been trained by the best. I went to Howard University.
Okay. Before she says anything else, you know who talks like this? People who are scared, right?
That overturned legal segregation in this country. I've been taught in those classrooms where Thurgood Marshall once taught. I'm not afraid of no president. Donald Trump, we're ready for you. We're coming for you. We're standing up for you. We're fighting on. We're not going down silent. Victory, my friends, is clear. It's now. And I'm not waiting 4 years. I'm waiting 2 until a speaker by the name of Hakeem Jeffries comes to bring us some rest. Come on, ladies. It's up to us. We saved this democracy before. We'll save it now. Let's go.
And Andrew Wilson says, you voted for it, lady. Hey, what's up, Andrea? Yeah, they always accuse people of what they're doing. It's crazy. It's time after time after time. It's pretty wild. And of course, she's coming out here and she says to Donald Trump, I'm coming after you. I don't care if you're the president. That's I don't even know how to describe that. That's what? Just complete delusion? I mean, complete disregard for the American people who elected Donald Trump by like, what, 75 million votes. She doesn't care. She's thinking about herself. She wants to get Donald Trump, and she's been paid one way or another for pursuing Donald Trump. It's her life mission. I believe she even ran her campaign to get this position on going after Donald Trump. Like that was one of her main like talking points or whatever. So it's just this. Some things just never change, right? And then here's another one. Letitia James falsified records to meet lending requirements, even put an application that she was married to her father. Mortgage fraud is a crime, and Letitia James is facing 30 years in prisons and up to $1 million in fines. No one is above the law, and that includes you, Letitia James. So let's hear this one. I am above the law. I am the law.
Representing our respective states, stand up and enforce the rule of law. The President of these United States is not above the law.
No matter how rich, powerful, or politically connected you are, everyone must play by the same rules.
Please sue him for us.
Oh, we're gonna definitely sue him.
Those are actually depends, not pants.
Gonna be a real pain in the.
And now the Trump Justice Department may be a pain in her you-know-what. The Angle has obtained shocking allegations leveled by the Trump administration against New York Attorney General Letitia James. The Federal Housing Finance
JB, she needs to jab a white boy. She'll get off clean. And then the community will raise $500,000 in legal fees for her. Oh my goodness. She started like
agency has sent a criminal referral to the DOJ.
She likes the white hairs. It's cultural appropriation.
Accusing James of mortgage fraud. In a letter to Attorney General Pam Bondi, Director Bill Pulte says James appears to have falsified records in order to meet certain lending requirements and receive favorable loan terms. He cited a property in Virginia that she's allegedly claimed as her principal residence and a property in New York that she claimed as a 4-unit structure instead of the required, instead of a 5, which Pulte says means she was able to get a different type
of treatment. I don't know what she was going to say next, but I want to know more about this marrying her father. Well, what is this? This is crazy. Benny even posted, Letitia James is facing not one, but 2 massive career-ending criminal accusations. One, falsely claiming a Virginia home as primary residence. That's mortgage fraud. And then 2, living there while serving as New York AG. That's election fraud and disqualifies her from serving as AG. She's done. And that's funny because whenever he mentioned, I literally thought of number 2 as I was reading number 1. And that is, aren't these people supposed to live in the districts that they represent? I know people like Maxine Waters get away with it. But that's interesting. So, yeah, I expect Donald Trump to give her the same treatment that she gave him and lay the smack down, right? So funny. Mortgage fraud after literally trying to go after Trump for something almost identical. Same clip, I think. So insane. So then, we've been talking about this, this Venezuelan, not Venezuelan dude, El Salvadorian dude. They got deported, and then the Supreme Court ruled that Trump was supposed to bring him back, but he was already on the flight to El Salvador, and then he's an El Salvadorian citizen who committed crimes in El Salvador, and some reason the judges said that he needs to be sent back to the United States to face trial, which is just crazy. So now the Democrats are just so nuts, right? And this is great because if they want to continue down this path of being the party for more taxes, being the party for just general nonsense, this tax to billionaires, make them pay their fair share, unrealistic paths forward to making our country better. I don't have to list all the shit that they're running on, right? I mean, the trans agenda and everything else. But if they want to add this to it, which is bringing back MS-13 terrorists into our country from their home countries, I guess I'm for the Democrats behaving this way. I'm not for the person coming back into our country, of course, but these people are hopeless. They have no clue what the American citizens want, demand, or need. And it's exemplified by their actions on nearly a daily basis, right? They want open borders. They don't represent us one bit. They're just the opposition. And so now they're sending, or maybe not sending, but he's volunteering Democrat Senator Chris Van Hollen to El Salvador to demand the release of the MS-13 terrorists. And so this is him actually shooting a selfie video, and let's check it out.
I just landed at the airport in San Salvador a little while ago. I'm now en route into the city, looking forward to meeting with the team from the American Embassy. And I do want to thank our Foreign Service officers and the whole team at this embassy and embassies around the world for all the good work they do on behalf of our country. I'm proud to co-chair the bipartisan Foreign Service Caucus that stands up for the men and women who are serving our country overseas and at home in the State Department. After that, I hope to meet with some high-level government officials from El Salvador. As I've said before, the goal of my visit is to talk to people here about the release of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. I told his wife and his family I would do everything possible to bring him home, and we're going to keep working at this until we're successful. I also hope to have the chance to meet with him, but we'll have a better idea if that works out a little later on.
And so Evil Elma mentions that the wife has/had a restraining order against him for abuse. Yeah, I believe the restraining order that she had filed against him was in 2021, which this shows that this dude has a history. You don't get restraining orders against your spouse unless there's some type of a domestic abuse, right? So the dude was not on the up and up within our own country and was here as a guest. You know what I mean? So apparently now the same wife has either a GiveSendGo or a GoFundMe, maybe both, trying to raise legal defense funds for the husband, which I think is just a money grab, right? If she's, I don't know if they're together. I don't know what their status is right now. Maybe they're still married. But that might have been trying to skirt our system, anchor baby, anchor marriage style. You never know. Gotta try to account for everything, right? None of these people get the benefit of the doubt, in my opinion. When you break into the country and are deemed an invader by the president, as Donald Trump has labeled this an invasion, you don't get the benefit of the doubt. But yeah, she's now fundraising, and I think it's just a money grab. I think she's just trying to get as much money off of it as she can while she can, I'm not necessarily sure if she's still in love with the dude, but yeah, it's all money grab there. And then the other good point that I saw about this dude was, okay, so he was essentially ruled to be an MS-13 gang member by a judge through this. I don't know if he directly was, but the fact remains that he was ordered to stay in the United States because if they sent him back to El Salvador, rival gangs would get him, right? And so unless you are a gangster yourself, you don't have a rival gang. So it was kind of an admission through proxy. I don't know how that'd be determined, but you don't have to worry about rival gangs coming for you if you're not in a rival gang, right? So it's just the whole Democrat narrative with this one is just way off. It's completely out of touch. And this dude is wasting time in El Salvador. Should be serving his constituents here in the United States, and instead he's on a virtue signal quest, and it's just a shame. It's pretty crazy. Let's see here. Cory Booker posted. Oh, excuse me, I'm hiccuping. Oh, Benny Johnson posted that breaking Cory Booker is arranging a trip for a group of congressmen to go to El Salvador to protest the release of a violent MS-13 terrorist. Okay, so it's not just that guy. It's Cory Booker too, and apparently a group of congressmen. So once again, completely out of focus on their tasks. This is not serving the American citizens. As a matter of fact, it's an attempt to serve an El Salvadorian. I have a hard time saying El Salvador. I'm going to say Al Salvador. I don't know. It's a tongue twister for me. But this is an attempt for them to protect an El Salvadorian. It's just like, dude, why don't you guys put this effort into protecting Americans, getting some justice for Americans? And of course, he's on here with this chick. What's her name? Caitlin something.
Do you think the Trump administration is defying a court order?
It certainly appears that they are, and they're trying to play too cute with parsing words. The court has ordered the return of this person, and that the Trump administration should do it. They're paying an authoritarian leader in El Salvador to hold people in the worst imaginable types of prisons that he has sent there without any due process. And this isn't just about Mr. Garcia. This is about every American understanding.
No, it's not about every American. He was not even an American. It's just crazy. And he doesn't get due process. He's already had multiple times in court, and it's up to the federal government to determine who can and cannot be in this country via immigration. It's like their sole purpose. Securing, Americans within our country.
That this president is making an assault on the due process rights that are afforded to people in our country. Everybody from Anton Scalia to other conservative think tanks have said very clearly, you cannot disappear people off American streets. We are a nation of rules, and due process is clearly one of them. And to erode the due process rights of anyone is a threat to the due process rights of everyone. This is a democratic slippage, and we all should be speaking out against it.
A democratic slippage? That sounds gross. I don't think you should mention, don't say that on my show.
Everybody from Anton Scalia.
I'm going to bounce it back just for a second.
To other conservative think tanks have said very clearly, you cannot disappear people off American streets.
Okay, so who was disappeared here? Do the Democrats not understand what the term disappeared means? I mean, the dude was taken into federal custody. He was in the custody of ICE or whoever, and he was in contact with lawyers, I'm sure, the whole time. There's no disappeared. They knew where he was the whole time. They're just sensationalizing this to try to get people to react in a not natural way. If you just tell the truth and people react, that's a natural reaction. That's sincere. And if your cause is just, that's all you'll need. But knowing that your cause is bullshit, you have to sensationalize people and try to play semantics like this and use words like disappeared. And you'll see it. This is the third, fourth, fifth person that I've seen say that he was disappeared. And they said it about the other guy too. That was, I think he was deported as well. That was running the protests on what is it? The Columbus. Is it Columbus? Who's that other university? I don't know. I think it was Columbus. Something like that. But anyways, they said that Trump disappeared him. No, they knew where he was the whole entire time. He was in contact with his family and lawyers. It's stupid. Tix Bomber says, I want to know where the hundreds of children that got put on buses at the border went, because they ain't part of that 300,000 missing and nobody knows where they went. Yeah, and that's true. That's, that's another thing that we want to find out about. We don't care about individual cases of dudes getting deported or not. Like, we expected mass deportations. I was hoping for anywhere between 20 and 40 million. I know that's a huge number, but that's how many people I believe came in under Biden's leadership. At least 20 million, possibly up to 40 to 50 million. And simple way to me to determine who's in the country illegally is to just go through the CBP-1 app. They all use this CBP-1 app to facilitate their entry into the country. I'm sure in that process, you have to say what country you're from, your name, your age, maybe some family members that are with you. Go through it. That's an admission. That's like on paper admission that you came into the country illegally. You don't get due process when it's right there, clean, cut and dry, right? But I don't know. Maybe that's just too easy, and you just can't go off of that. But it's pretty crazy. I can't believe that they. This is funny. The hills that they stand on. This is funny. El Salvador's government blocks Senator Chris Van Hollen from visiting Kilmar Abrego Garcia, held in high security prison after an administrative error led to his deportation. And that's the thing. They keep saying that it was an administrative error. I don't think it was an error. I think they just made the choice. Pam Bondi even said that he was deemed a MS-13 gang member by a county or a state. They went off of official rulings and proceedings and then used their authority to get him out. And Trump ruled this an invasion. MS-13 is a terrorist group. The cartels are. There's nothing. The guy has no chance to stay in this country. And it's just a waste of time. It's a waste of judges. It's a waste of court-appointed attorneys. And, federal tax dollars pay their salaries. I don't want extra judges hired to facilitate, to do these stupid hearings. We just want the people we elected to make the decision and do the job. Biden didn't ask everybody's permission to, when he brought these people in. He didn't go to the courts and say, hey, is this legal for me to do it? He just did it. He was flying people in from countries. He had the border completely open, and he was open about it before he was even or after he was elected, before he was inaugurated, saying, come on over, essentially. I'm paraphrasing, but everybody knew that the border was not going to be secured as soon as Biden won. And it was because of the words that came out of his own mouth. And of course, the people on the other side of that border were listening. I mean, look at the amount of people that came in. Tix Bomber says, it's pretty arrogant to think you're going to show up to another country in defiance of your own president while spitting in the face of the president whose country you're in. Yeah, exactly. And ignoring the fact that El Salvador's president, Bukele, I can't say his name right. I always want to say ukulele when I see his name. But no disrespect. It's just what comes to my brain. But he already said in his meeting in the White House, I think it was the Yellow Room, right? I called it the Oval Office before, but I think it was Yellow Room. Everything in there was yellow. I'm not going to send the guy back to the United States, and I'm not letting him out of the prison. Said, why would I let a terrorist out into my country? I just made it the safest country on the planet after being the most dangerous country on the planet. That is the recipe. That is not the recipe I'm going by right now, is letting the people back, criminals into the public. So, this Chris Van Hollen is an idiot. He shouldn't have even made the trip. He wasted our money. He wasted our time. He probably flew a private jet on our tax dollars to do this shit. And it's just stupid. Complete waste of time. And I don't remember who it was, but somebody said his first stop is to pick up a El Salvadorian prostitute. And I wouldn't be surprised. Forgive me for not. Tix Bomber said that he's going to the closest 5-star tourist hotel and ordering his El Salvadorian prostitute. Yeah, probably, right? House mentions that the Koch brothers Chamber of Commerce wing doesn't want 40 million deportations, as it will take a sledgehammer to the nation's GDP. They bet on never ends growth and don't care about safety or interests. Yeah. Let's see, why would he send a citizen to his country out of jail to come here? Yeah, it's stupid. Ending growth. Oh, okay. On never ending growth and don't care about the safety or interests. I got your house. Well, let's see. I'm just running through everything that I got here. Harvard funding, Native Patriot. Okay, and there was one more thing, right? Let me see. Give me 1 second here. Let me make sure. Okay, here's a little bit of an update. Senator Chris Van Hollen traveled to El Salvador to discuss the release of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, an individual illegally deported from the United States. Illegally deported. I just don't like the way that's worded. Dude is not an American and has no rights to be here. Senator was unable to meet or speak with Garcia. The visit has sparked controversy, with some criticizing the prioritization of Garcia's case over other domestic issues, particularly highlighted by a local mother questioning why her daughter's death received less attention. Oh, that's right. Okay, yeah, that's right. I forgot about this aspect of it. From Gunther Eagleman here. Here's a question for Chris Van Hollen from Patty Morin, and I'll just let her ask the question herself. Let me.
Why are we not protecting the American citizens? It's just common sense. Why are we not protecting our children? And to have a senator from Maryland who didn't even acknowledge or barely acknowledge my daughter and the brutal death that she endured, leaving her 5 children without a mother and now a grandbaby without a grandmother, so that he can use my taxpayer money to fly to El Salvador to bring back someone that's not even an American citizen. Why does that person have more right than I do, or my daughter, or my grandchildren? I don't understand this. Thank you.
Thank you.
And so what she didn't mention there was her daughter lives in the same state that this Senator Chris Van Hollen represents. So Chris Van Hollen does not stand for his own constituents. He stands for the Democratic, anti-Trump, anti-American agenda to spite his own constituents. He just wants you to vote for him. He'll say whatever he thinks you want him to say so that you go out there and vote for him. And then he's going to do whatever the hell he wants. Just like any other Democrat and probably a lot of Republicans out there. Let's just be honest. But it's insane. Okay, and then here he is actually after his attempt. So let's hear what he has. Oh shit, this is 12 minutes long. Is he really going to talk for 12 minutes? All right, yeah, we're not going to give him 12 minutes of time. He can screw off. Yeah, here we'll do Eric Doherty's long story short. Senator Chris Van Hollen got totally rejected today when he demanded a meeting with Kilgore Abrego Garcia by the El Salvadorian vice president. The VP said, "You'll have to arrange that through the Trump administration, LMAO." Oh, that's great. So the vice president in El Salvador backs their president, of course. They're working together. And they're working with the Trump administration. So you got to love that answer. You got to love that reply. Go talk to Trump about it. Maybe he'll give you what you want. Good stuff. Good stuff. Okay, this is a 30-second clip.
Well, I'm asking President Bukele to, okay, I'm asking President Bukele, under his authority as president of El Salvador, to do the right thing and allow Mr. Abrego Garcia to walk out of a prison, a man who's charged with no crime, convicted of no crime, and who was illegally abducted from the United States.
Nothing original. Nothing original. Jamie says, I'm going to head out. Going to relax before I fall asleep. Have to be at the house after my group therapies and possibly deal with things. Yeah, Jamie. Like I said, let me know in Discord how things are going. And I think with that, I'll go ahead and call it a show as well. Appreciate everybody for sticking around with me for overtime. It's been fun. I always have a great time talking to you guys. I always look forward to doing these shows. Have one of the greatest chats on YouTube. We're still small, but we're growing. And I love you guys for showing up every show. You guys are awesome. And I consider you guys friends, really, to be honest with you. So anyways, do make sure you hit the like button on your way out. Make sure you double check that you're subscribed. Click the link in the to join the Discord. You know the thing, right? And I'll see you guys. What is it? Today's Wednesday. Yeah, see you guys on Wednesday. We'll be back at 7 o'clock Eastern time. And then what else? I think that's it. Make sure you check out Atlas's channel, Atlas Thugged. Also check out my channel, America First TV, over on YouTube. Everybody on X, give me a follow. I'll follow you back. Share. Go check out YouTube as well. Click the jar openers, or go over to YouTube and type in Jar Openers Podcast channel, and make sure to hit that subscribe button. We're growing the show. Just this last month, we've had a great month, and I think we're up to nearly 60 subscribers. So if you think we're worth a subscription, please take a little bit of effort. It's a way that you can give away Google's money to somebody who Google doesn't necessarily appreciate, right? Because of our opinions. And I love that concept. But anyways, you guys have a great rest of your week. I hope it goes fast and easy, and all the things you need to happen in your life happen for you. So we'll see you guys on Saturday, and Christ is King.
With war rolling Atlas Thug, we here to bring the truth. Jar open this podcast, we breaking through the fake news. They try to silence us, but we will be subdued. We're bearded alpha males here to save the youth. Spitting fire on the mic with our bass Christian takes, exposing the lies, keeping the demons at bay. We ain't afraid to speak up, we won't be swayed. Jar open this podcast, where the truth is laid. Jar openers, cracking open the lies. We're rolling Atlas Thug, we're here to rise. Bearded alpha males saving the youth from the godless demons, spreading the truth. We ain't playing games, we're on a mission to awaken the masses with our intuition. Pulling out the corruption with no inhibition. Jar open this podcast, sparking a revolution. We're not afraid to stand tall in a world full of deceit. We're the voice of reason, bringing light to the street. Keeping it real, never missing a beat. Jar open this podcast, where the truth meets the heat. Jar openers, cracking open the lies. We're rolling Atlas Thug, we're here to rise. Bearded alpha males saving the youth from the godless demons, spreading the truth. Jar open this podcast, where the truth will never cease. Join us on the journey to bring back peace. We're rolling Atlas Thug, fearless in our release. Jar open this podcast, where the lies will decrease.